part one of the most important videos of the 2024 fantasy football season. Who are the best 4 picks in all of fantasy football 2024? And this can be used across redraft, non-best ball, and best ball. The ADPs might be slightly different, but you can win leagues with these two gentlemen and 2 others that will come via part 2 tomorrow. These are 2 of the top 4 picks in all of fantasy football. And then we've got news to go over. We've got a whole bunch of news. We'll do a fast recap of what we did earlier, very, very quick. And then focus a lot on Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb and what everything means right now, news-wise, compared to other situations like it. We're going to go over the Joe Burrow haircut. Will a real Slim Burrow please stand up? The Fantasy Football Show, News Edition. 4 best picks in fantasy football, part 1 edition. Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. edition. Begins right now. File on in, pal. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
That's the sound of me on my horse. That's the sound of all of us on our horse trying to go draft these 2 gentlemen of 4. The video part 2 comes tomorrow. My number 3 and 4 picks, but my 2 very, very best picks for 2024 are probably these gentlemen. Number 3 and 4, one of them can move ahead. I don't know the exact order yet. I'll order it on the screen later. On a standalone screen, you can press a button and say, here are the 4 best picks. Hey, Smitty, show me the 4 best picks in fantasy football. I'm pressing the button and all 4 names will pop up. So we'll organize that later. But right now, I just want to let you know that if you listen to anything I say all year long, if you only listen to one thing I say all year long, hear me now. I'm gonna put it into one sentence so it can apply to helping you win championships. Draft Kyren Williams in round 2, cuff him to Corum, or round 3 if you can in best ball. Draft Patrick Mahomes in round 4, anywhere in round 4 in best ball, and round 3, anywhere in round 3 in non-best ball, and win your championships. Let these boys cook for you the way that they were born to cook. They were born to cook, not even at first round value. Kyren deserves to be a top 5 pick, but he's going around 2 in non-best ball. He's going around 3 in best ball, and he's a top 5 overall pick. Let these boys cook. They could be number 1 at their position at the end of the year.
Let him cook.
Let me tell you a little story. A little story about a man named Kyren, who was the number 2 running back over all RBs but Christian McCaffrey last year. And I won't stick on this topic too much because I know we cover a lot of Kyren, but I hammer points home a lot when we get near July and August because the ADPs aren't changing. My job is to continue to beat a dead horse on a topic or 2. I'll always try and bring new content to the table, but at the end of the day, this is a very simple game of mathematics and science. And the science tells you that Kyren Williams scored 15 touchdowns in 12 games last year, 12 of which were rushing touchdowns. That means 12 rushing touchdowns in 12 games. That means 1, 2, 3, carry the gold, carry the 7, multiply it times the flux capacitor, and you have a guy that, if he played 17 games, would have scored 17 rushing touchdowns. If my life is on the line and someone says, Smitty, your life's on the line, we need a running back that can both run for 100 yards today on Sunday and score a rushing touchdown, I say, well, give me Kyren. Give me Kyren Williams. There is no discussion. Even over Christian McCaffrey, this is a better rushing touchdown guy you can count on. This is probably my number one overall projected rushing touchdown getter in the NFL 2024. I think no one outscores, especially the duo. No one outscores the duo in rushing touchdowns in 2024. Nobody. Not Christian McCaffrey. Bijan's maybe going to get more or the same total touchdowns, but no one's getting more rushing touchdowns than this duo right here. It is win a league, smash your league into a bunch of little itty-bitty pieces type of situation. Kyren Williams is out there looking like a monster. You got people saying things like he's hurt already, Smitty. He's going to have his job taken by this man known as Blake Corum, who's got higher draft value, all this, all that. But meanwhile, Kyren's out there looking like this in practice. You have people saying things like Kyren Williams has lost his job or is losing his job to Blake Corum, and he's out there catching passes, ready to be look at the moves. Just look at how quick he is on this second take real quick. Look at this. First of all, catching passes, working on his PPR. Look how quick his feet are here. This is one of the most electric running backs in the National Football League, and you have to be blind if you didn't see it on the field last year. If you didn't see this guy running and go, wow, he looks like the best running player in the National Football League, not some total package of receiving, rushing combination like Christian McCaffrey or like Bijan, okay, this year. If you sat there and go, yeah, this guy's just a much better runner between the tackles, I can't help you. This is the best running back in the league in this offense, and you can't separate situation from player. Sean McVay plus Kyren Williams is a top 2 running back in fantasy football 2024, and I'm planting my flag here, and I'm saying this is the running back 1, 2, or at least running back 3 overall in fantasy football. Only Bijan, Christian McCaffrey, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs is going to maybe topple this guy. He is the most consistent player when on the field aside from Christian McCaffrey, who's 28 years old and is expected to be dialed back a little bit. If he isn't, maybe Christian McCaffrey during his 28-year-old season gets banged up. This guy right here, who's 3 months older than Blake Corum, is not letting nobody take his job, especially Blake Corum. Blake Corum's important, but this man wins leagues. If you don't see that, you're digging a hole based on last year's failure. You messed up last year. You said Kyren Williams won't be any good. You doubled down. You lost. You look like a fool. Now you're walking into this year trying to dig a bigger hole because it makes you feel better about last year's regret. Well, let me tell you something, pal. Coming from a man with a psych degree, and I dabble in this stuff here on the channel, I'm telling you, inward look, young man. Ask yourself why you're against Kyren Williams. Why? Is it to prove last year's version of yourself correct? Is it chasing an absolute stupid take that you had last year and you're trying to defend yourself in the present? Stop doing it. Bank on Kyren. He's going to the mother-freaking moon in 2024.
He's Kyren. He's 7 feet tall, and he knows how to handle a ball. He's Kyren, he can take frowns and turn them upside down with his touchdowns.
And yes, I'm sorry, Breece Hall as well. I'm sorry, I see a couple of you are like, what about Breece? Of course Breece Hall. Of course Breece Hall. Breece Hall is going to be in the mix for a top 3-4 running back play, no doubt about it. Breece Hall's going to the mother-freaking moon. We've got Breece Hall capable of being running back 1, Bijan capable of being running back 1, Kyren capable of being running back 1, Gibbs capable of being running back 1, and Christian McCaffrey. We got 5 running backs that have the capability of being RB1. But here's the final point, since we're on that topic. Which one can be had the furthest down the ADP board? Kyren Williams. 3rd round in non-best ball, criminal. 2nd round in best ball, criminal. Gibbs is going to the 12-13 turn, criminal. Very criminal. Breece Hall going at 8, 7, 9, criminal. These are all but the most criminal of them all is Kyren going in 3rd round best ball and 2nd round non-best ball. Bijan's going top 6, 5, still criminal. All these running backs, Breece Hall, every one of them is actually good value in 2024. That's why And people will misremember how important and how amazingly accurate the Saturn Man list is because they're all studs on it, but they don't understand what I just went over in terms of their value across the board. Take a gander.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for
Smitty.
man, one giant leap for Saturn.
This looks like a very obvious list, Smitty, until you dig into it, Bob. Kyren.
Spaceman.
Kyren, 3rd round, best ball, 2nd round, non-best ball. This is criminal. This is robbery. This is win a league potential. Breece Hall going at 7, 8. It's value. Bijan at number 6. He should be number 1. Gibbs at the 12, 13, 14 area. He should be number 5. Achane in the 2nd, sometimes 3rd, but 2nd round, he should be at the 2-3 at the 1-2 turn at 12, 13 overall. This guy's going in the 80s to 100s. This guy's going around 4. This ADP has changed to 4.10 roughly as of July. I'll fix this. Marvin Harrison Jr. dropping to about 14, 15 in non-best ball, 13, 14 in best ball. These are all values. That's the funny part is I promise you, when we reflect on this, we'll hit the button and celebrate it later, right? Let's say mid-season, end of the year, we'll come in and go, oh, we nailed it. Look at the Saturn Man list. Let's stand up. Let's give ourselves a standing ovation. And there'll be a Caleb, a Karen, a Bobby Boy, a worried William, an upset Unger. I missed the boat, Ian. There'll be a lot of them that come in and say, oh, what a bold list. Way to step out on the edge there, Smitty. Those are all obvious calls. They're not. You got to look at what we're talking about value-wise. Cost of entry, those are all steals. Clearly, they're all being undervalued. They're all getting taken in the wrong place, or they wouldn't be on the Saturn Man list. I wouldn't put someone on the Saturn Man list that didn't belong there. Every single one of those players down to JD5 is going in a territory where they shouldn't go. They should be going so much higher. Bijan so much higher. Breece Hall so much higher. Kyren Williams so much higher. Gibbs, Achane so much higher. What are people doing? What are people watching? Why are they not watching this channel? Why are they watching Gary, the content creator over here, that's cranking out the garbage to tell you not to go near these guys? I have people DMing me on the daily saying, Smitty, I'm hearing Kyren doesn't have the right draft profile, and I'm told not to draft him over on Channel B. Well, why are you watching Channel B? Channel B should take a lap and obviously doesn't know what in the hell it's talking.
Wrong. We might get lammed.
You know what I'm saying? And then we cycle over to the Patrick Mahomes situation. And we say to ourselves, what in the hell are you doing over here drafting this man in the 4th round in best ball? 4.10? This is the biggest steal I've seen coming for a long time after Kyren Williams. We're talking about a guy in 2022, 1 calendar year ago. Okay, 2023 stats, last season, didn't do it. Okay, dropped the ball. Mediocre year at best. And they won the Super Bowl. Okay, they had a crazy wild wide receiver room with a absolute wild ride of a situation going on with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and hope to God that they don't have some sort of roller coaster breakup during the middle of the year or whatever the hell it may be. Something's going to probably happen, but it doesn't matter. They're ironing it all out. This guy had a very shaky wide receiver room. His wide receiver room has been improved times 3. We got Worthy looking really good, catching some good deep passes from this guy Mahomes, man. Some dimes and some good pitching catching going on. And then we've got Rashee Rice, who could miss half a season, might get punted into 2025, the whole court case situation. So we might be looking at Rashee Rice playing a whole year, half a year. Doesn't matter. They're still going to roll him out there. The team's not going to take any course of action against this kid, so he probably will do fairly well. We might even have to reevaluate his ADP and cost of entry because of what we're seeing on the field right now, catching some nice deep balls from Patrick Mahomes, connecting very well. But you also, on top of all that, have the acquisition of Hollywood Brown. You have Hollywood Brown coming into this situation, maybe capable of being the number one wide receiver if Worthy doesn't rise up, if Rashee Rice doesn't say, get back, it's my job. All three of them battling to become the best wide receiver on the team. Dare I say this is as good, if not, in some cases, definitely a lot of cases better if you're including Travis Kelce than the Green Bay Packers situation. Green Bay Packers have Jacobs and Lloyd. The Kansas City Chiefs have Pacheco, Zambit. Who knows what Zambit's going to do? They got Kadarius Toney taking backfield touches. We've got, CEH there. So that backfield's very comparable to anybody's backfield because I believe Pacheco's in for a 12-plus touchdown season. Okay? Kelce can compete with any tight end for the most part, right? That tight end room, the running back room, the quarterback room, clearly top three, if not number one in the league. Wide receiver room, Christian Watson, you've got Jaden Reed, you got Wicks. Well, over here, you got Hollywood Brown, Rice, and Worthy. This is such an improved team from last year coming off a Super Bowl win. This is the team to beat in 2024, by the way. If we're talking about who's going to win the Super Bowl in 2024, win 3 in a row, and enter GOAT status conversation where we're out here screaming and yelling at each other going, is he as good as Tom Brady already? He can't be. He doesn't have as many rings, but he just won 3 in a row. No one's done that. How do you measure that? I don't know. Is he the GOAT? He's on his way. Okay, we agree on that, but is he really the GOAT? It's going to be chaos in the offseason. I predicted this right when the Super Bowl ended, I predicted that we'd walk into 2025 offseason after Mahomes wins another Super Bowl, his third in a row, and we'd be having the conversation and battling it out and yelling at each other and calling people morons because they think Mahomes is already the GOAT and proved it, and people say he can't, and we're going to have that conversation. That's how good this team is. This is the best quarterback, really, overall, in the NFL, period. I mean, we love Josh Allen and what he can do from a fantasy perspective. We love how Jalen Hurts is doubted by so many, but he's still a top 5 NFL quarterback and a top 3 fantasy quarterback. And you want to call in and have that conversation with me? Go ahead, pal. Go ahead and call in and tell me how Jalen Hurts isn't a top 5 NFL quarterback, but he is fantasy, but he's not an NFL. The tush push, Smitty, it might go away. Jalen Hurts is going to vanish and turn into a pumpkin, Smitty. Go ahead. I'll be waiting for it. But at the end of the day, this is the number one quarterback, NFL quarterback in the game, period. There's no discussion. Zero discussion. There's no arguing this point. And from a fantasy perspective, he could easily be the number one because not last year, but the year before, he was number one. And he's done it. He's been top of his game his whole career, but last year, he's been one of the elite top quarterbacks pretty much his entire career already, and he has one stumble and fall last year, and everybody's writing him off to the tune of a 4th round pick in best ball and 3rd round in non-best ball. You're winning your league if you draft this man in the 4th round and land your other picks even remotely close. You're winning a league in non-best ball if you land this guy in the 3rd round and remotely land the rest of your picks. This is insane. This is insane that the whole world isn't sitting here going, Worthy, Hollywood, Rashee Rice for even half a season, Travis Kelce, Pacheco on his horse, Zambit. We got Kadarius Toney taking backfield snaps. We don't know what the hell we're looking at. This team is going to the moon. And if you hate the Chiefs aren't winning it. You're just a hater because you're against Mahomes like so many were against Tom Brady. If you're being honest with yourself, this is the team to beat in the AFC, in the National Football League. This is the team to beat. There's no denying or arguing this, but it will translate to fantasy football. The greatness we see in 2024 out of Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs team and Andy Reid's coaching will translate 100% into fantasy football production, and you will win your leagues off of Kyren. Imagine getting Kyren in round 2 or 3, Mahomes in round 3 or 4. You grab both of them in best ball. You get him in the 2nd and him in the 3rd in non-best ball. You get him in the 3rd and him in the 4th in best ball. You got a winning formula sitting right in front of your face. You might have the number 1 quarterback and the number 1 running back, or at least a top 3 running back, especially if you cuff the 2. What are we talking about? This is your win a league formula.
Mashed potatoes! Yeah, buddy.
Very simple show. Very simple show. No arguing can even be made. You can try. The phone lines will be open in a minute, but you're gonna be absolutely paddling up a crab creek with no paddle, just your hands in the creek, scooping water. There's no argument. You have none that those two are winning leagues. Kyle with the $5 hauler says, can't always watch live, but I love the streams. Thanks for all you do, Smitty. AR5 plus JT to the moon. I don't hate that at all. I don't hate that at all, young man. Smash on that.
You've just been Smitty approved.
I mean, smash on that. Dez dropping a 2-wad says, but I thought we can't use last year's data, says Dez. Who said that? Who said you can't use last year of anything? Appreciate your super chat, but I don't know what in the hell you're talking about. When we look at best ball and we try and tell people how to draft positionally, draft positions, use the data, that's a whole different topic. I think you're just joking, so it's cool. I'm just making sure people that don't know you're joking think that, you know, that this channel doesn't use stats and data. We use more stats and data than really anybody. The problem for me, the perception of what I am as a content creator, all gut, no numbers guy, is I go live impromptu. Number one, most important part is impromptu. I go live impromptu more than anybody goes live upload wise and non-impromptu. So for me to constantly be presenting data, Dallas, I saw breaking news, Dallas Cowboys. I went, shit! It's Michael Gallup has announced his retirement. Okay, next. Anyway, the thing is, I go live so much impromptu style. I have data. I put data on the screen constantly. I'm always using data. Every time I'm speaking, I'm pulling up stats and numbers and reasons why you can win your league here. You can win your league there. You're going to be able to smash your league into itty bitty pieces. But the thing is, I have a lot of gut instinct on my channel, and people tend to think I don't use as much data as the next guy. It's just I'm going live more than anybody. I'm talking for longer than anybody. Isaac with the super chat. Coach McVay is drafting Kyren first in his fantasy league. Why wouldn't you? Kyren to Saturn. Absolutely. Who wouldn't draft Kyren? I mean, please raise your hand. If you're not drafting Kyren, if you're one of those careful Calebs and you say, I'm just going to draft only Corum, I'm going to be that guy, raise your hand. Let's have a look at your comment. Let's have a look at it. Let's see what you have to say. Can't always watch. Thank you. Appreciate that. I already played that. G-Men dropping a Kyren H-N or Barkley 2.6 redraft. Kyren G-Man, you just saw. If the answer was, and I don't mean this you're super chatting, I appreciate you. I love you, pal. I'm answering you with passion, not anger. I'm not mad at you or yelling at you. But if the answer was Barkley or H-N, who I love, you would have saw that video up. However, to your point, to your maybe curiosity, and eventual, you could be correct on this. Maybe H-N is number 3 or number 4, and as I said at the top, maybe they pass Mahomes or Kyren. It's possible. But as of right now, Kyren and Mahomes are number 1 and number 2, the best 2 picks in fantasy football. Number 3 and 4 drop tomorrow. There's a small chance I change my own mind and my own argument because I do everything impromptu practically on this channel. Nothing scripted. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I'm absolutely rogue every time I go live. So there's a possibility that HN cracks this list tomorrow, number 3 or number 4, and I start convincing myself he's the best pick in fantasy. But I'm telling you right now, the answer is Kyren. Okay? Kyren Williams, cuff him to Corum. Nothing's stopping you, bro. Nothing's stopping you. So that's my answer. If he goes, I'm drafting HN or Barkley kind of at a mixed rate, a mixed clip, because I love both of them so much, my guy. They're both fantastic. $5 from Cheryl. Hey, Smitty, 2 quick fun questions. Best handcuff to Derrick Henry and Najee or Jalen given their ADP. I'm leaning toward Warren because Warren is on a mission this year. He looks fantastic. He looks aggressive. He looks huge. He looks motivated. Najee's always been a little bit of a quickness concern for me. You got Arthur Smith coming in who's always doing what people don't expect him to do. And I just feel like Warren might be that shot But at the same time, like, I get it. If I'm drafting, I'm torn. I'm trying to cuff the two together, especially in best ball. But I'm leaning Jaylen Warren. I think Jaylen Warren potentially could even crack the Moon Man list, or the midseason monster list might be more appropriate. So hang tight on that one. As far as the handcuff to Derrick Henry, it's really tough because the answer's complicated. It's eventually Keaton Mitchell. It's got to be. But he's not going to be ready at all for even the beginning part of the season. So then you're stuck to try and figure out who it is. And then you got Ali, the rookie. Is he the better potential cuff, even though he might not be, in that position now? So you might have 3 different, cuffing opportunities depending on when you need that situation backed up. So I don't know. Right now, I think there isn't an answer. I think if you're preemptive and you say Derrick Henry does amazingly, and then he wears down at the end of the year, it would be Keaton Mitchell, and you'd have to grab him. I would say that, Cheryl, if you're in a league that you can grab him and then put him on a taxi squad or on IR, beautiful. Because then you could even grab Ali or whoever kind of solidifies as the backup currently present day. And then when the time comes to cut that player and move Keaton Mitchell up, you're ready to go. So see if you can draft Keaton and then IR spot him. That would be the most ideal way to handle it, and really the only effective, foolproof way. Thank you so much for the $5 holler. This one's from Matthew. Matthew says, where is your line for DJ Moore? Would you take him in the middle of round 4 in best ball? No, I would not. And the reason for that isn't because I don't like DJ Moore. It's because I just like about 5 to 10 players better than DJ Moore, even in round 4. I just went ahead and showed you that in best ball, this man's going 4.10. You got McBride and Kincaid going after Mahomes in most cases. You have Josh Jacobs. You got sometimes ETN. You got DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, Tank Dell. All these guys kind of in that territory. I want nothing to do with the wide receiver that's in a crowded wide receiver room that kind of feels like, I don't know where he is in the pecking order. This is a very crowded wide receiver room with a rookie quarterback playing for a team that does not know how to develop quarterbacks. So I'm staying away, not because DJ Moore can't surprise and do very well and earn 4th round value. He certainly could, but there are so many players I like better. I'm not touching DJ Moore as my 4th drafted player. Think about that. Your 4th drafted player. Are you looking at your team walking out of a draft going, that team's fire with DJ Moore as your 4th drafted player? You might be thinking DJ Moore of old. Oh yeah, DJ Moore is great with Fields. You can't think about DJ Moore the same anymore. You got Keenan Allen, who was number 3 or 4 in wide receiver scoring last year, depending on your league and scoring format. Wide receiver 3 or 4. Not saying Keenan Allen's doing that this year in a crowded room. I'm just telling you there's a lot of talent. Odunze might be the best wide receiver in the entire wide receiver room. This is a crowded place to try and handpick which wide receiver is the number 1, so I'm staying clear of it. As for the news, thank you for the super chats. Keep them flowing in. I'll answer them in order in which they're received and answer them immediately, because that's how we roll on the channel going forward. This piece of news is the newest one. We didn't report on this earlier on the earlier news show, but I'll go through quickly all the pieces of news, and then we're going to focus on a little bit of Jamar Chase. In fact, we'll go into Jamar Chase right after this, and then Lamb, and then the rest of the news. Tyreek Hill was undergoing stem cell treatment in, Antigua, to regenerate cells in his body and improve his blood flow. That's interesting. I don't think there was an injury or anything. It's kind of a wild thing. Tyreek Hill trying to keep his body, fresh and young. And maybe this is something that does help him. It's tough to say. I'm not saying there's a negative or positive here. I don't know if it'll do anything, but I don't think it'll do anything bad. It's always good to try and stay ahead of the medicine, and in the medical field's getting so impressive in terms of athlete, abilities to come back from injuries. Like soon an Achilles injury for an RB will be recoverable. Right now, it's never happened. A running back that's torn their Achilles tendon, the best example of a comeback we have is Deonta Foreman, who's been serviceable. He's been pretty good, but he hasn't been a top 10 running back. We've never had a top 10 running back ever in the history of the NFL and fantasy football that has torn an Achilles tendon and come back and become a top 10 running back or return to top 10 running back status. Hence why I was so against Cam Akers, who I predicted would get re-injured, and he did. very easy to see coming. Why? Because running backs have a short shelf life. They've got an expiration date. They're so quick to try and rush back because their job will get taken. Teams will move on. That shelf life is too short. Quarterbacks, they can do it. Basketball players, they can do it. Running backs also need that quick burst that's not allowed to you, not offered to you by the Achilles recovery process for at least 2-3 years. So there's no way for J.K. Dobbins to be effective. He's going to tear his other Achilles because he's rushing to try and get into a position to not lose his job. J.K. Dobbins is the biggest injury risk in all of fantasy football at the running back position. Neither here nor there. Circling back to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill trying to stave off injury. He's an older wide receiver. I don't mind this. I feel pretty good about this. I think this makes me feel like maybe he will have a healthy season because he's trying to work on staying healthy, and he's so quick. He's so fun to watch. We're not writing him off at all yet, okay? I think we have an uncomfortable conversation next offseason about Tyreek Hill. I truly think that is going to be a time where we come in and we say, honest talk, who's out? Who's going to jump a year early, risking that they're a year early versus jumping a year late? But in 2024, we can't walk away from this man. We can't. Just like Christian McCaffrey, it's going to be a very uncomfortable situation in next offseason if he does do well. But think about what McCaffrey did for you this year. He was fantastic, but in week 17, he failed you. In week 17, he was not there when it counted. I know, because in a best ball league, I was about to I think take home first place, and Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara both sat out the second half of that week 17 contest and screwed my chances of winning that best ball tournament. I'm not saying that you got to take that, be stubborn about that, be bitter about that, be biased about that. I'm merely saying that Christian McCaffrey is going to have a tough time staying healthy at his normal workload at the age of 28. He is special. He takes care of his body. No doubt about it. Tyreek Hill's special. He takes care of his body. I think Christian McCaffrey's 2024 season and Tyreek Hill's 2025 season will be very similar, meaning I feel like this is Tyreek Hill's 2023 McCaffrey season in terms of worrying about injury. We're a year away. McCaffrey, we're there. McCaffrey, we're at the point where we're concerned about McCaffrey being healthy all year long. We have to worry about it. As for Tyreek Hill, good for him, good on him. Let's go over to this piece of news right here. This piece of news, well, actually, let's talk about Jamar Chase real quick. So on NFL Network, they were talking about Jamar Chase, talking about how this guy's getting paid $34 million under fair market value for him. He's getting paid $1 million for this season, the 2024 upcoming season. Now, granted, he's on his rookie deal, and granted, he's entering his fourth year, and granted, we're entering a dangerous territory where wide receivers especially, but players can just say, hey, I'm 2 years away from a new deal, because he would have his fifth-year option picked up, like Ayuk, right? Like CeeDee Lamb. Those guys are in a territory where it makes sense to extend because you're on the actual final year of the club deal, the fifth-year option. In the case of Chase, he's jumping a year early, but St. Brown, like, look at all these wide receivers. It's par for the course, and it's smart business for the Bengals. This Mike Brown character doesn't know what in the hell he's doing. I really think that. He said the die's already been cast. This was his quote that he had dropped yesterday when interviewed on this topic. He said the die has already been, let me read it to you. I'm not going to rule out anything, but I will tell you that the die has already been cast, that these things are better done in the offseason, and that it's unlikely that a deal gets done between the Bengals and Jamar Chase this season. This offseason that's just ending. He said it's better to do these things in the offseason. Well, I hate to break it to you, Mike Brown, but we're currently like at the tail end of the offseason. You were just in the offseason for months and months and months. Like, what are we doing here? This guy's going to cost you so much money by waiting. Let's do the math. Let's say he would have got $34 million per year, $35 million per year Who here thinks that, let's drop some numbers into the chat. Who here thinks that Jamar Chase is getting in next offseason 37, 38, 39, 40 million a year? Please drop it in the chat. And remember that everybody thought it was crazy when people were talking about $30 million last offseason. Everyone said, oh man, there's no way that Chase or JJ is going to get 31. I heard 32 million. Oh my God, it's not going to happen. In the chat, drop how much you think Jamar Chase is going to be worth in 2025. What is the number that he's looking at? I would love to hear where you guys think this salary is going to be annually for the top wide receiver in the league. And make no mistake about it, he will be the top. If Lamb comes in and signs a big fat contract, and we're not even talking guaranteed money. We're not even talking guaranteed money at all. We're talking about, we're talking about the annual salary. Guaranteed money is probably going to be in the 125s. 120, 125, something like that. This guy says 37. He says 37. Right now, he could probably get 34, 35 per year, roughly. We got Paul saying 39. DC Hog says 26. 1 to 5 million below JJ. What the hell are you talking about, John? JJ already signed his deal. Chase next offseason getting below JJ? John, I've never heard a more ridiculous comment from you on the year. Call in on that later and explain yourself. How are you going to get 1 to 5 million below JJ's value next offseason? John, come on, bro. I mean, come on, bro. Travis says 37.5 million, 150 over 4 years. And the guaranteed money on that's not going to be 110 like JJ's deal was. It's going to be 120 something, 120, 125, whatever the case may be. 35, 36, 38, 36.5. Brucey says 35. Let's call it 37. Under JJ. John. Below JJ. How are you going to get below How is the top wide receiver next offseason when things inflate even more? How are you going to get below? Okay, so let's call it 30. Let's call it 3 million. Let's call it a 3 million cost. 3 times at least a 4-year deal. We're talking about 12. We're talking about 12 to 15 million dollars this team is going to eat by waiting until next season. Next offseason to get this deal done. You're going to eat 12 to 15 million dollars by waiting. Not to mention the guaranteed money, at least that amount. It's going to go from 110 to 120, 122. You're losing so much money not signing Jamar Chase today by letting the die be cast, according to President Mike Brown. It makes no sense at all. Not to mention, you open this Pandora's box by having negotiations. Some might say he's under contract. He's actually on his 4th year. Let him play this year out like some of the other wide receivers have done. Go on a 5th-year option, and then during that offseason, negotiate trying to get an extension there. But you open this Pandora's box, and the other receivers have followed this path. We have to be careful that a wide receiver can't come out of year 2 or 3 and be like, hey, I'm just as good as him. I'm getting paid, and I'm 2 years into my rookie deal. I'm going to hold out. Like, we got to be careful that we aren't like having players do things like that. Let's see here. Who cares? Just give me fantasy points, says Justin Herbert. What are we talking about, bro? What are we talking about? Not to mention, and actually, to my knowledge, I think you can't even negotiate on the 3rd year. Actually, I think rookie deals on your rookie deal, because Brock Purdy is an example of this. You got to wait until the 4th year. So that's actually a protective measure that the NFL put in, which is beautiful. So that solves that problem. But you got to think these players are trying to push this to the limit every chance they can get. Who the hell knows what kind of options there are? Because that Diggs contract absolutely threw everybody, including myself, for a loop when Diggs voided his entire contract. It was like, have we even seen anything like that? We haven't. I don't think we've ever seen anything at that level ever go down like that. It was wild to me. Absolutely wild that Diggs would void his contract. There's so many weird situations. Rockout dropping a super chat on screen. Rockout says, check DMs. Thank you, Rockout. Remind me in a minute after I get through all this, and I'll check out your message. Anyway, as we get into this, we're going to talk about Lamb and Chase on the phone lines. Bengals dropping the ball, not getting this deal done. The Cowboys are certainly dropping the ball, although they're saying they're prioritizing the CeeDee Lamb contract, so at least they're working on it. Problem is, I don't know if Lamb wants to even sign a long-term deal. I'm sure he will if the price is right, without knowing who his quarterback is. I know I wouldn't. If you brought me into an organization and said, hey, I don't know who's going to own this company next year, that's kind of how it feels, right? Who's the owner? Who's driving the ship? What's the quality going to be like of the product? And you're asked to sign a long-term deal you can't get out of to work for a company. You don't know who's heading up the entire operation. You don't know where it's going to go. Is it going to be a quality place to be? I don't know. I don't know that it's in Lamb's best interest to sign a contract unless Dak Prescott is a part of it. I just think it's wild. It's crazy. Who's going to throw him the ball? Everybody thinks the grass is greener with other quarterbacks. It's never usually the case because it's so hard to find a player better than players like Dak, better than players like Kyler, better than players like Joe Burrow, like in the case of Aaron Rodgers and Adams. It's just wild to me that players think, wide receivers think, oh, I can go somewhere else. I could go somewhere else and I can thrive. Diggs did go to a great quarterback, so we'll see how that works. But Diggs also voided all of his years, but the 1 year trying to bank on himself because Diggs thinks he's going to be a part of this big payday rush for all the wide receivers. He's going to be a part of the gold rush, the wide receiver gold rush. Diggs, you're an old man. There's no $35 million a year on 4 years waiting for you at the end of all of this. What the hell is he thinking? Some of these guys don't think. Some of these guys do not think. Addison, he obviously doesn't think. He doesn't use his brain. Unbelievable. Rashee Rice clearly doesn't use his brain. So Lamb is holding out in total holdout mode. We'll find out more tomorrow, I bet. We're going to hear a lot on this tomorrow. So Lamb Chop's holding out. Ayuk showed up. He's not holding out, but he still wants his deal. The Niners are going to try and work a deal out with them. As of right now, there's no idea of a trade happening or anything like that. Joe Burrow showing up looking like Slim Shady, looking like, I don't know. I kind of missed the hair. What's he doing? I don't know. Maybe it grows on us. But his buddy, they went and did the buzz cut brother thing. So they're doing Step Brothers. They're coming together with the buzz cuts. I like it. It's unified. Then we got this right here. So many people acting like Keon Coleman isn't quick, fast, speedy. We talked about this earlier. Look, this kid's going to be special. He's going to be an absolute stud. Keon Coleman, high pointing the ball. Look at this. He is so good. His spatial awareness is amazing. His route tree is going to be unbelievable. His intellect, his ability to pick up things, to work hard, his drive, his motivation. This guy's everything you want in a wide receiver, and he's in the best spot that can help fill those gaps and voids in his game and turn him into a superstar. This guy won't just be a good receiver. He could be a great receiver, and I think it's going to start happening right away in Buffalo. You want a breakout Tank Dell? It's Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman is this year's version of Tank Dell. Now, he goes a lot higher, but the impact he can have at his cost of entry is similar to the impact that Tank Dell had. I get asked that every day. Who's your Tank Dell? Who's your Tank Dell? Like, we could dig really deep and find some guys, right? But like McMillan or Burton or whatever, or Javon Baker, like there's a lot of guys that are out there that have that very, very crazy deep, no one's even drafting them type of value. Ricky Parasol, who got injured. We'll talk about him in a second. But the guy that feels the most Tank Dell to me, that he's going to be that guy, it's really Keon Coleman. And I think people that are trying to I don't know, root against him are just they're gonna be real depressed that they got off the train and they started shoveling more good after bad and didn't decide to change directions, adjust and adapt and say, never mind, I was doubting him, but I'm on board. Listen to me right now. If you're doubting Keon Coleman for whatever reason, internally look at why you're doing that. Is it bias involved? I always try and train you guys into not letting bias creep in. And I know people think I'm a biased person because I get so passionate and dig my heels in on certain topics, but I'm digging my heels in on certain topics because that is how I believe, how passionate I believe in this situation. So you got to understand that. CeeDee Lamb not reporting to camp. Just making sure all of this is CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk are both in situations similar to what Justin Jefferson had in Minnesota. All three players were first-round picks in 2020. All three entered the offseason in their first year of deals, and all three want contract extensions. Jefferson got his, Ayuk wants his, CeeDee Lamb wants his. So that's just a report by Schefter. I'm just making sure there's nothing I'm missing here. CeeDee Lamb not expected to report to camp. These are all kind of flowing in right now. We already knew he wasn't reporting to camp. We broke it earlier, but there's just more piling on top of more reports piling on top of each other, just solidifying that information is true. But if anybody's doubting Keon Coleman, I want everybody to just pause for a second and say to yourself, why? Why? Is it because you predicted him to be bad? Is it because he had a slow 40 time and you started doubling down on that, saying he's got a slow 40 time, he's really bad, he's really bad? Why are you down on Keon Coleman? Ask yourself that question and see if it's legit. Is it a legit reason? If it's not, back off it. Adjust and adapt. Stand down.
Alert. Stand down order in effect.
Stand down, reassess. Jordan Love wants his contract. And like I said earlier on the show, there's a real likely chance that this guy gets a contract within the next couple of days. Why? Because how are they going to function without him? They can't walk into the offseason without this guy. They can't do it. It doesn't give them any chance to win. If they have this thing linger, I promise you they're going to crack down on this. And with the threat with Stafford's right-size deal, with the threat of Tua and Dak getting contracts, and even wide receivers like Lamb. Lamb's going to affect Love's contract. Everything's interconnected. All the guaranteed money affects the other guaranteed money, even across position, even though people act like it doesn't. It's all an interconnected web that at the top, when the web goes up, it drags everything up with it. And so the Packers got to get this deal done, and I think they'll figure it out really soon. As I mentioned, right-sizing this guy, giving him a little pay bump. Stafford, that's kind of an interesting nugget out there, and that's great for this Rams offense. Tua did report to camp. He wants a new deal. We had that piece of news I threw up there. Odell Beckham Jr. is injured right now, and he'll start on the unable to perform list. Surprise, surprise. He's a tough guy to bank on at all on any level. Lamar Jackson is getting closer to returning, but he's still out for, I think, the third straight day with an illness. The guy was already at like 204 pounds or something. Imagine he's going to be under 200 right now and have to gain some of that value, that weight back. Kadarius Toney taking snaps at RB, but not just like in a weird way, like, oh, he's taking snaps today at RB, and then you don't hear about it. They're moving him to running back, it sounds like, and the report here says Reed believes Toney enjoys playing that role. This is not some like weird practice session where they're working on trick plays or something. It sounds like Toney's moving to running back, and maybe he becomes a cuff at some point. We'll talk about it. And as I said during a waiver wire show, either preemptive week 1 or week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, I can almost guarantee that a non-Pacheco, non-CEH player, and not saying Pacheco gets hurt or gets replaced or anything like that, just as a backup, a good pickup or whatever, I can almost guarantee that we're going to have some sort of conversation about a non-Pacheco and non-CEH KC running back, Zambit, somebody that needs to be picked up off waiver wire, week 2, week 3, week 4 recommendations. I just have a gut feeling that we're going to be talking about somebody significantly. And maybe Pacheco does miss a game or two, and that's why, but I think Pacheco's a monster. He's on the Mars Man list for a reason. I think he's Mars, not Moon, right?
He's on a shuttle
there he is.
to Mars.
Look
Man.
at him. Pacheco, Mars Man extraordinaire. So there we go. Breaking news here. Amari Cooper, 1 year contract reconstruction, guaranteeing him $20 million and adding an additional $5 million. So he just basically got a little bit of a right-size bump, similar to like Stafford's in a way, or Barkley last year, etc. So there you go. Ricky Pearsall. This is not necessarily big news yet. He's on the hamstring injury. He entered it away from the facility, which, he was working out, though. It's like he was paintball, going to play paintball or something like that. Facility, and he will start on the NFI list, non-football injury list. But just understand that the NFI list is used as a maneuver a lot of the time, so he might be fine, and they're like, hey, put him on the NFI list, and now we can keep a couple other bodies around and test out, whether we're going to keep people. So it's just a maneuver by teams. Alvin Kamara showed up for camp, but it sounds like there's no contract waiting for him. There's no progress, really. I know that he wants a new deal. I don't know that he's going to get one. So that's all the news. We discussed a lot of that earlier, but I wanted to break it down again on this show because this 8 p.m. show, 5 p.m. Pacific time show is a news show. So I want to throw all that on screen. If anybody would like to dial in and have a further discussion on this or ask a question around your fantasy football team, etc., dial into the show. The phone lines are open. Do it live. We're talking Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, any of that news you saw there, on top of the 2 best picks in fantasy football, 2 of 4, so part 2 comes tomorrow. Patrick Mahomes and Kyren Williams win you leagues. These are, as of right now, my number 1 and my number 2 best picks in all of fantasy football 2024. And if you own both of them, clearly you're in a huge advantageous situation and positioning in your league. So do it live. Phone lines are open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
All right. Let me get that phone line number on screen here. Dial in. Let me see if I can move that over. We got a member. Somebody just dropped some exclusive memberships. I got to pull up the live stream over here on my other screen so I can monitor the exclusive membership content because you guys are absolute monsters with that stuff. Yesterday we had a ton of memberships gifted, and you guys are unbelievable. Young just became a 12-month member. Can you please show the Moon Man, Mars Man, and Saturn Man list from Young, or that's Young's 12-month membership, I'm sorry. Young, appreciate you dropping that 12-month membership. My guy, I can certainly show that for you. Let me just put this back where it was. 1 second. And here are the Saturn Men.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man, one giant leap for Saturn.
Now keep in mind, again, as obvious as this looks to some people, every single player on here is had at an extreme value. Like, this guy should be a top 5 pick. He's going at 7, 8, 9, 10. Bijan should be a top 1 to 2 overall pick. He's going 6, 7. H.N. should be a 12, 13 turn player. He's going in the late second 3.1 territory. Kyren, same thing. He should be a top 5 overall pick. JD5. Gibbs is going in the freaking 12, 13, 14. I've seen him go in the 14 territory lately on best ball. Crazy. This guy can win you a league, should be a top 5 or 6 pick. This guy's going at around 4.1. This guy's going around 4.8 now at 4.10 in best ball. MHJ is still a value. So all these guys are steals, and I think they're going to be misremembered as, obvious calls, but it's the value for all of them are league winning. And the Mars Men.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars Man.
Pacheco, Benson, Barkley, AR5, Henry, McBride, Jacob Stroud, Monsters, and Moon Men.
The Moon
and London.
Man, dropping loads in outer space.
And London was the Mars Man as well. Penix Jr., Parasol, kind of long-term Moon Men prospects.
Space Monsters.
Those guys could move to mid-season monsters or whatever. I can't remove Penix Jr. Parasol could be a mid-season monster. I think Parasol probably more so fits that, especially if he is banged up a little bit. So we could even keep Penix Jr. by his lonesome. And Parasol is on the mid-season monsters, I believe. So that works out and makes sense. But Penix Jr. is an absolute stud. But, it's just a matter of, does he get in there this year? Does he get in there at all? And, it just, you don't need him to be in there. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, that quarterback room is so secure just having both those guys there. Whether you love Kirk Cousins, like the caller who's on hold right now, or you love both of them like I do, where it doesn't matter. Like honest truth is I don't want anything to change. If Cousins goes in there and balls the hell out, then I don't want Penix Jr. in there, and I'm okay with that. I'm not banking on anything. And in fact, most of my best ball drafts where I have Penix Jr., I almost 99% of the time also have Kirk Cousins. But this is the Moon Man list. Brooks could move off of this, Jonathan Brooks, and just be on the midseason monster list, which is still a very respectable list. The only difference between midseason monsters and the Moon Man is that they become Moon Men by midseason, is essentially what that is. And because Brooks is in a tough spot, he's recovering from the ACL tear, he could be eased into action. It just opens up another spot to try and help you guys win your league. Ben Sinnott could also be in that territory where it's like, he's trying to take Ertz's job, and I think he will, but maybe these are midseason monsters more than anything. And again, that opens up two spots to have new Moon Men before the season begins, because we're running out of spots, to be honest. Like in the midseason monster list, oh, that's Revenge Tour. Midseason monster list, so Sinnott is on here. It looks like Pearsall isn't, so I got to move Pearsall over to this list. Kendre Miller, Garendo, Malachi Corley, Bowers, Burton, Spears, Adunze. These are all really, really solid midseason monster guys. I might even take some guys off and move them around. We'll have to see. I think this needs to be combed through a little bit. Hollywood Brown, the reason Hollywood Brown's on here, I always have to explain this, is because we didn't have any room for him on the Moon Man list when I added him, and I've just never moved him. It's almost like we want to, for record, I just want Hollywood to stay on the board. But we might have to move him around because it doesn't make much sense to keep him on the midseason monster list. If he's going to ball, it's going to be right away. Let's go over to Rockout wanted me to hear his message real quick, and then I'll go to Ron Navy. Rockout dropped me some sort of bar, I'm sure, and so we'll put Rockout on the stage. Rockout, please report to the front stage.
Please stand up. May I have your attention, please? Will the real Joe Burrow please stand up? Okay, we're gonna have a problem here. You acting like you never seen Joe Burrow score a touchdown before. Scoring, dropping lows, and throwing it to Jamal Chase before. Scoring, rocking in the fold. Taking over games like you never seen before. It's a straight takeover. Joe Burrow, the real Slim Shady.
Thank you, Rockout. Appreciate you. Rockout to the moon. Ron, you're live.
Like nobody knew it was me waiting under.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins fan. Home.
And again, there's nothing wrong with the Kirk Cousins train unleashing, and everybody wants it. Like, the truth is, if Kirk Cousins is not in the lineup, we're one layer of protection stripped away from having, untouchable security at the QB position in Atlanta. Unless Kirk Cousins, gets injured for a little bit, Penix goes in and is on fire, and they just never put Kirk back in, then I feel comfortable again, because we have the best backup situation for a quarterback room in the National Football League. So my hope is that Kirk does not have any sort of injury or anything like that, and he balls out. So we're actually on the same team here. I know you feel like you got to always defend Kirk Cousins, but there's nothing to defend here, because I'm not wishing injury upon anybody. I just think that logically speaking, they drafted Penix Jr., and the odds of Kirk Cousins, having some sort of moment where he misses a game or two, because people miss games all the time. He's older, the Achilles. I just wonder about a calf injury, because they're going to pull him the moment he has any calf pain or anything like that. You just wonder what's going to happen. Like, do they put him in? And if Penix Jr. is as good as I say he is, it almost has nothing to do with Kirk Cousins. Like, I'm not saying anything bad about Kirk Cousins. It's just I fear for Cousins' sake that Penix Jr. touches the field, he's going to look electric. But maybe he goes in and he's kind of shaky, and they're like, okay, we like what you saw, but you're a little shaky. Cousins, go back in, and then you're back to normal. But it's certainly the best QB, not the best, the safest QB room in the National Football League. You could argue Russell Wilson and Fields is kind of intriguing too, but I think everybody's concerned about Arthur Smith enough to say that's not the same, level of greatness that we could see in Atlanta with all these weapons, with the way they're going to run this offense, with Zach Robinson, the guy that architected what we saw in helped architect what we saw in LAR last year for the Rams. Zach Robinson coming over, and he's going to use London like Puka Nacua, Kyle Pitts like Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp like morphed together. Bijan is his Kyren. It's going to be unbelievable. So Cousins to the moon. I'm sure we haven't heard from Perps in a while. And Perps has been busy. We appreciate Perps. We miss Perps. I think I'd love to hear what Perps thinks about the Vikings situation. But I remember Ron came in here and Ron said, you know, you're going to wish you didn't let Cousins go. And I hear you, Ron, and you ended up being right that they didn't replace him properly. But in Perps' defense, I was with Perps in saying that at taking the chance on Penix Jr., it would have been worth it. But the Vikings just drafted the wrong guy, and that just sucks. That just absolutely sucks. You know, I know Sick Nasty loves him in here. I'm sorry, but I just think that Penix Jr. and JJ would have been glorious. It would have been absolutely glorious. But now we're stuck with, I believe, a guy that can't even take the job from Sam Darnold. That's a problem right all on its own. But I think grass is a lot of time greener, you know.
Motion detected at the front door.
Well, I mean, I was with you. I was like, if they do get rid of Cousins, I was with you, hoping that they'd do Penix. But they didn't get it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Hey, did you see that MMG? That new $5 one in Underdog?
No, I haven't yet, but I did clarify something with the Underdog boys earlier today when I asked about Zambit, like Goku's asking. Everybody's asking me constantly if the rugby player Zambit, if he's going to be on Underdog at some point in the database, because he's not. But the problem is, once they start, I guess, a season. Not just a contest or a tournament, but once they start a season, like the 2024 season, like when you look at your exposure or when you look at the ADP rankings and you look at 2024, that entire 2024 season is locked down in terms of player pool. So apparently, according to the answer that I got, that there's not a strong likelihood. DC Hawk, can you mute yourself? As soon as you joined, it got a lot of background noise. And as soon as the 2024 season got underway, those players were all locked. So it sounds like Zambit will not be in the Underdog player pool at any point, which kind of sucks, but I don't know that he'll even be relevant. You never know.
Right. Yeah, I saw that last night. They have it's only 67,000 people. It's $5, so it's
Kyle.
A smaller tournament, but
Mahomes.
To the moon.
I noticed it's on the very end of everything. It's not even linked into the.
I don't know. No idea.
It's not the other football ones. It's at the very end of the lobby.
No idea.
I don't even know what it stands for.
Mahomes,
I have no idea what.
Mahomes, I appreciate you upgrading to priority comments. By the way, if you guys have a YouTube exclusive membership and you upgrade it to the higher package, as we get into the season, I'm going to have to not limit, but I'm not going to be able to get to every comment because the comments get crazy. And so what I do is I sort by priority comment memberships, and then I go down to the $2.99 YouTube exclusive membership, the lower one, and then I answer as many of those as I can. But if you want to get into priority, you're going to get quicker responses because I get to those first if anybody wants to upgrade. Ron, anything on screen you want to talk about? CeeDee Lamb related, Jamar Chase related?
No, actually, I have, we had the discussion on Mahomes, and I told you I wasn't like totally going home, but I was fading him some. But I've after talking and your shows and stuff, I actually pulled it off. I got Mahomes, Worthy, Kelsey stack, and I got a Mahomes and Worthy and Hollywood stack.
I'm really starting to get, I'm really starting to draft a lot of Worthy. Watching him pull in some passes and just not just passes, but some deep balls. He's had some drop issues and stuff. And so to see him getting comfortable, to see Mahomes throwing some deep passes and threading the needle with them, it's got me excited. He's very, very quick. And the fact that, the fact that they invested so highly in him, I feel like there's a nice shot at in best ball, him paying off, because you got other avenues if he doesn't do well. If he's very inconsistent in best ball, you can get saved by your other picks that you have below him. But in non-best ball, I'm still a little shaky on him, but I start to draft more of Worthy.
It's really easy. I noticed. I mean, I stack a lot, but I haven't stacked as much this year. But it just falls. That stack falls right in line. It's just like, you take your two guys, and then Mahomes ends up, and then Worthy's right there, and then you get Kelsey. It just lines up to where you can get that stack without having to reach for it.
I think
stack to get with a
I think many championships are going to be won through Mahomes, through Kyren, and obviously through teams that have both of them. But I think a lot of championship teams are going to have Mahomes on the team, because you're not even buying him as like a middle round. He's almost like middle to late. I mean, on best ball, he's almost more toward like not even middle rounds. It's like it's so deep. Fifth round, almost sixth round in some cases. Like I've seen him go at 4.10. That's where his ADP is. But I've gotten him and seen him go 5.5, 5.6. Like, it's still wild how many people will fade Patrick Mahomes. Now, I don't know if all the hype around Worthy catching these deep balls, Rashee Rice today caught a deep ball, I don't know if that moves the needle much. It could, it may not. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I think people are starting to get reminded, and I think you're a good case in point. You were like not hell-bent against Mahomes the other day, but look how quickly you're loving the idea of drafting him. So if you're changing your tune a little bit, I bet you a lot of other people are, just by the news of Worthy and everything going on. So I don't know. He's going to be more expensive, I think, in the coming weeks. I think he will be in best ball. I don't know about redraft. I think he's still going to be in non-best ball redraft. He's going to be right in the third round, which is ideal. It's so perfect to take him in the third round in a non-best ball. He is a league winner there.
You know why I changed my tune a little bit? Because I keep remembering that first year with Hurts.
Oh yeah.
And I was anti-Hurts, and then you kept talking Hurts, and then I started drafting him, and it worked out really, really.
I remember that. You were I remember when you turned a little bit on it. You're like, I drafted Hurts. I'm like, attaboy! Hold on, Ron. Let me get through the phone lines here. I got a packed house here. Mars Man rock out, then Travis, and then over to Justin, who's been waiting a while. Justin, hang tight as long as you can, pal. I'm coming for you. Mars Man rock out. What's up?
Yeah, and some of the redraft leagues I've been seeing, Hall go fourth. Do I skip that and go wide receiver?
Where at the fourth overall?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I love Hall at 4 overall. I'm fine with that. I'm not scared of that. I love Bijan at 4, Gibbs at 4, Breece Hall at 4, Jamar Chase at 4. I mean, like, you're talking about preference, man. I mean, really, I could go either way. Like, I guess you got to ask yourself, what is the likelihood of you loving your team from a best player available perspective in your league, with the way your league drafts, with what your expectation is with wide receivers getting ripped off the board? I'd venture to say in non-best ball, we're going to feel like it's Christmas when it comes to wide receiver shopping in the third and fourth round. I think, because, and I know this to be a fact, actually, because I've drafted in a draft already, but Breece Hall, like, if I'm willing to go running back in best ball, in a world where people go wide receiver as often as they take a breath in and breathe back out, it's repetition. It's the only way a lot of people draft. If I'm going running back and still pulling off the wide receivers that I think can help me win, In non-best ball, bro, you're going to have wide receivers for days in the 3rd and 4th round. You're going to have DKs, Cooper Kupps. You're going to have Cooper Kupp and Dell as your wide receiver 1 and 2 by going running back. I think I'm more apt to say that you're going to run into best player available opening up a running back as your best start than not. I love running back in non-best ball. I love it in best ball, but I love it. I absolutely smash the hell out of it in non-best ball.
Yeah, Hall goes 4th, and then like Bijan goes like 6th.
Yeah. But just, I don't know. There's no answer here, man. I mean, Bijan, Lamb, Chase, Breece Hall, Gibbs. I mean, they're all so close, bro. Like, I get this question a lot, and I understand why people ask it because they just want to know what I think. But like, my answer is always going to be, I'm going to take Hall in some leagues. I'm going to take Chase in a couple others. I'm going to take St. Brown in a league, right around Breece Hall anyway. I find it harder to draft St. Brown over like a Bijan or it's rare. Like Gibbs, right. I'm taking Gibbs over St. Brown almost every time. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs is a monster. But I think St. Brown I got to own at least once. But the problem is I don't do enough redraft leagues. I cut back a lot. So I probably have 4 or 5. And so I'm not going to have the ability to draft every one of these guys, but we'll see.
How about best ball? How much you got of him in best ball?
Yeah, that's where I get my fix. In best ball, I just rotate it. Boom, 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 boom. And it's not about being wishy-washy. It's just about I love the first round so much. The first round is full of studs, man. Just full of studs. There's really no bust. We went through the worst picks in every round, and in round 1, I couldn't really find one. The only caveat I had, or the only conversation point, was Christian McCaffrey. And it wasn't that he was a bust or a stay away or an avoid. It was just, out of all of the round 1 guys, the only guy you could even bring up as probably having a high risk at all would be McCaffrey at 28 years old. Regardless of how he takes care of his body, he has one of those chambers in his house. I get it. I get it. That's why we're taking him. He's a little bit more risky to avoid than to draft. But we're getting to that 50% mark where it's like he's 50% risk, 50%, or like 55% upside with or worth the risk, you could say, and 45% not worth the risk. Like he's teeter-tottering right there. So he's a risky player. Like, I would not take Christian McCaffrey if I had 4 redraft leagues and I had the 1.1. I would take him in 1. No doubt about it. I'm okay if that fails. I'm not going to be like, I knew it. I'm fine with it. I'm going to take him in 1. But there's not a chance in hell I'm drafting Christian McCaffrey more than 1 time if I've got 4 1.1 side by side in 4 drafts, redraft, non-best ball starting right now. Or even best ball. If I was only doing 4 best ball drafts and that was it, you only give me 4 opportunities, I'm drafting him in 1 of those leagues. That's it. There's not a chance in hell I'm drafting him more than once. That's 25%. That's a high I don't even want 25% ownership. I'd rather have like 15. But I'm taking him in 1, and I'm taking Bijan in another. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb in another. And hell, I don't know who the next one would be. Maybe it's Bijan again. I don't know. Maybe Hill. Probably Hill. I'd take Hill in 1.
Yeah, Hill.
Let me go over to Travis real quick. Hang tight. Travis, then Justin, then DC Dude. I'm sorry, DC Dude, and then over to the Bruce, and then back around to Ron. Go ahead, Travis.
Hey, packed house tonight, huh?
Yeah, we're doing pretty.
Line.
Yeah, packed phone line between 100 and 200 live viewers here on YouTube. Kind of bouncing all over the place, which is great. I have a feeling we're going to be in the 400, 500 range real soon here as we get closer to August. So Tell a friend. Let's get this puppy packed full of people. Go ahead, pal. What do you got?
So just touching on the Kansas City situation, say something happens where Rice only gets a 2 or even 4 game suspension, and that's it. He's able to put him behind them. Do you see Worthy carving out enough of a role in the beginning of the season where, like, he has a big role, or would you see him as more, it's like, kind of hit or miss his first season, where it's just kind of, where it's hard to even tell?
You know, I'm a big adjust and adapt guy. Everybody knows that. I make it a strong point to make sure that in my world, especially myself, like I need to practice what I preach, you know, and I preach that more than anything. And it's okay. I mean, look, we're in July. There's no like, oh, I guess I was wrong about like, everybody needs to let go of the ego when it comes to being wrong about something. Like, it's okay. I'm not saying I'm wrong about not liking Worthy enough, but I think now it's time to say there's some intrigue here. There's some real intrigue here. And it's okay to change your mind. You're waiting for these things to pop up and make you feel comfortable jumping over to that side of the fence. I think no matter what, Worthy's very, very intriguing. I think that if Rice stepped out, it could be good for Worthy, but I don't know that that's even a requirement, you know, but it certainly would be probably better than it would be bad, but I don't know that it's going to be a requirement. I think Worthy is going to develop pretty well. I think he's so efficient and explosive. In some ways, if let's say Rice was raptured from the team for 6 games or 12 games or whatever, let's call it 10. He's raptured for 10 games. Now defenses are keying on Worthy more. Right now, walking into week 1, week 2, week 3, he might have far less touches, but be 10 times more efficient because no one's expecting anything. And he might have one of those week 1 games where it's, you know, 2 receptions for 80 yards and a touch. He might have a week 3 where it's 3 total touches and he has 75 yards and a touchdown, 20 rushing, you know, whatever, 55 receiving. It's tough to say. I just think that in this offense, I don't need anybody to be out. I think it's so electric. There's so much to go around. Other teams are thriving off it. People are loving Diggs and Nico and Tank Dell and Joe Mixon and Dalton Schultz without worrying about who's getting the ball too much or whatever. So why can't we do that with Patrick Mahomes and an aging Kelsey, you know, and a guy in Pacheco who we like, and I think he could pull in a lot more balls this year, but he's not like he's consuming so much that you're like, there's no room. You know, it's not like Christian McCaffrey where it's like that guy is more receiving than rushing sometimes. And so, you know, you do wonder if there's enough mouths to feed, or if there's too many mouths to feed in San Francisco, whereas it's different in KC. KC can have Worthy explode. I'm really starting to like him.
So, because I think when it comes to the Texans, I think it's going to be hard. I mean, all 3 receivers are not going to be able to be number 1 receivers all year long. It's impossible in my eyes. So my question is, if Rice is there, you know, more than half the season, and you got Hollywood, Rice, Worthy, Kelsey, do they go back to throwing more like they did in the past? And do you think Pacheco takes a hit, or, you know, I guess who falls in the pecking order or is it just spread out and it makes it really hard to predict? I don't like for a redraft league or for this season alone. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't. Harder to have those elite guys, top 5 guys, top 10 guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
So many mouths to feed.
I don't know the answer to this. I don't think anybody does. We could all guess, but I think at the end of the day, Kelsey's going to get his, Pacheco's going to get his, Mahomes is going to get his. It is an enigma when we're talking about the wide receiver room. There's no way to know if Hollywood, Worthy, or Rice is going to be the guy. There's no way to know at this moment if the case is going to be pushed into 2025 for Rashee Rice, therefore not missing a game, although I think he'll definitely be in trouble. It's just a matter of can this get pushed into next year. I think at the end of the day, Hollywood Brown feels like he's the most likely to be the number 1 on the team, no matter what. But at the same time, like, Worthy's talented enough that even with both those other guys there, he could explode and become the guy. Rashee Rice brings the experience to the table. He brings the rapport to the table. He looked really good today. There's no answer, man. There's really no answer. I just think that you get your hands on enough of this offense, like Ron was talking about in best ball, that you're kind of covered, I think. And then if you draft well around it, you're going to be even better. Like, you can't count on this. You can't have these 3 wide receivers be your top guys, though. You have to have some other firepower to go into it, because you're right. There's only going to be one probably monster each week from the wide receiver room. So you can't put all your eggs in this basket and say, I'm just going to grab all the Chiefs. You got to have the Chiefs plus a bunch of other non-Chief wide receivers to make sure you're covered. But I guess if I had to guess, you said, Smitty, guess who's the number one wide receiver at the end of the year on this team.
I'm not talking best ball, more so like, redraft and Dynasty.
I guess I would say, I guess I would say Worthy. I guess I would say Worthy comes along interestingly. Like I said, he's going to have low touches but good efficiency. And then at some point, I do believe Rice misses half a year. But you can't guarantee that this year. It could be pushed, like I said, to next year, like Kamara's case. But if he misses half a year, he can't be that. But I think he can be great when he's on the field. Right. And then Hollywood, I'm going back and forth on whether I like Worthy or Hollywood more. I'm just being honest. I don't know. I'm digesting it the last 48 hours. I'm feeling better about Worthy. But it's tough. It's tough. Let me go over real quick, Travis. Let me go over to DC Dude, who's been waiting a while, then Bruce, and then Justin. DC Dude, you're live. And then I'll come back to you guys.
Smitty, what's good, man? How you been?
What's up, pal?
Hey, all right. Hey, listen, when I'm drafting, I try to stagger my bye weeks, right? But week 12 and week 14 be giving me fits because a lot of guys that I like at the running back position, wide receiver position, they have the same bye week as other guys that I like in week 12 and week 14. Week 12 and 14 got more teams on the bye than any other week in the league, and that's more than I can possibly remember. So I was going to ask you, when you're drafting, do you look at the bye weeks and sometimes draft accordingly to the bye weeks to stagger your bye weeks? And which week do you hate the most, 12 or 14?
So in week 12, I got the bye weeks up here. First of all, let me answer the question and say this. Bye weeks are, in my opinion, irrelevant. As long as you're covering your positions in ways that you don't have zeros, you're either bleeding, you like to stagger it. I don't like to stagger my bye weeks. I don't really even draft around that. If you're drafting around a bye week, buddy, you're at some point passing on value for a freaking bye week. Because there's no way you could stagger the bye weeks consistently and not pass on a player that you shouldn't be passing on. There is 0% chance I'm ever drafting somebody over another player because of a bye week. I'll figure out how to fill the hole, but you're leaving value on the table. Bye weeks are irrelevant. You either bleed out in 1 week and lose the week, and then you're stronger all of the other weeks, and then everybody else has buys, and you're just smashing everybody every week because you got your whole arsenal for the remainder of the season, before and after that bye week. So I'd rather have all of my players on a bye in the same week. Absolutely. 100%. Let me try and win with my sub guys. And I've done it before where I've had all. Plus, on top of that, you might be, even during that week, let's say you have all week 12 out. You might be playing a guy that has his 2 best players out anyway, luck of the draw, and you win that week. And now you're fully loaded the rest of the season at every other week. Bye weeks are the biggest crock conversation known to man. Now, in best ball, it can hit you hard in certain, contests, but for the most part, this is as long as you have replacements and players to throw in, and you try and draft crafty for that. You keep an open mind, more so with those backups. You're drafting backups off of bye weeks more than you are. Never, ever pass on a starter like a stud because of a bye week. Ever, bro. Ever. Leaving value on the table. As far as answering your question, week 12, week 13, 12 or 14, based on what you said, which one do I like worse? I don't even want to answer that question because that's insinuating that I'm going to draft one of these players in one of these weeks more than the other because of their bye week. But I will say the more brutal bye week, Atlanta, Buffalo, week 12, Cincinnati, KC, that's brutal, New England, and what do we have? We have the Giants as well. What is this? What do we got? And then week 14, we have Houston, Indy. I mean, they're pretty equal, bro. Jahmyr Gibbs in week 14. You've got Josh Allen in week 14. They're pretty even, bro. Week 12, week 14 are crazy. And in weekly winners, it's interesting to go delve into those weeks. If you want to do what you're doing, you want to get crafty with drafting players based on buys. Why don't you do some weekly winner best ball contests where you're going and trying to draft the best team you can in week 12, then draft the best team you can in week 14, and try and win those weeks, the 20K in those weeks. That would be my advice to get your bye week fix in, bro. But I'm just telling you right now, you better not be passing on a first or second or third round player because of a bye week. You know what I'm saying?
Well, look, listen, that's great advice, Smitty, and thank you so much, man, because there's times where I do just sacrifice the week and just bleed out, like you say, because it's only just 1 week. But great advice. I was just wondering how you looked at the bye week, and I appreciate your input.
And it's a passionate answer. It's not against you. I'm not trying to tear you down or anything. Yeah, I just get a lot of people are like, Smitty, look at your week 12 team. In week 12, you're going to get hit hard as far as a bye week goes. Like, who cares? I'm going to be crushing the remainder of the season. Like, I don't understand that. Especially if, we're talking about week 14, that's an important week because, like, in some contests, like, especially if you're doing, like, marathon or you're doing whatever, like, there are some times you need to factor in, like, when all things are equal, you're going to go this direction versus this direction because you're afraid of that contest in week 14 and what it means to that contest. But you're still taking all things are equal, bye week can come into consideration, but you should never be like, I like to spread it out. Like, how are you going to spread it out? First of all, it takes a lot of time to try and make that kind of decision on the clock. But if you're able to do it, if you're spreading them out, you are absolutely passing on talent. There's no doubt about it. If you come out with a spread out bye week team, you were kicking players left and right, aside to draft that guy because you got a bye week in week 7. You didn't have a bye week 7 guy yet. I would just advise against that, bro. Draft the best player available. Draft the best team you can. Keep bye weeks in mind in terms of your backups. Maybe you got Braylon Allen and freaking, I don't know, Braylon Allen and you still got a Zamir White or somebody on your bench that can start, and you score, 2 or 3 touchdowns and 150 yards combined between the two guys, and then you win your bye week. You win your bye-mageddon. Also, the way I like to look at it, bro, when you try and plan against losing to get a lower playoff seed so that you can play a specific team, it always backfires. Always. Whenever you try and manipulate something like that, it always backfires. Don't plan for something like that. I'm telling you. All right, hang tight. I'll come back to you, bro. If you got another question, I'll help you out. 1 second. Mute yourself if you could. Bruce, you're live. Then Justin. Then Nate. DC dude, thank you for calling in, bro. Appreciate you. He just hung up. I appreciate you, bro. So go ahead, Bruce. Then Justin Fort Worth, then Justin Rush, then Nate. So go ahead, Bruce.
What do you think, since I know you guys were talking about the Vikings earlier, and that's my team, what do you think of Darrisaw re-signing?
Yeah. I mean, it's not bad, not negative. But I don't know. I mean, it's obviously good, but I don't know what to really make of this team, in general. Like, I just don't have a lot of faith in the Vikings this year. I just feel like the Vikings, to go into a season with Sam Darnold as your starter, it just, to me, it's a recipe for disaster. And then, you're gonna turn to the rookie at some point. You are, and I hope he's as good as his attitude and vibe is, because I do like him. I do like Justin or JJ McCarthy. I like JJ McCarthy a lot. I like Drake May a lot. These are very quality, high character guys. So I am rooting for them. Believe it or not, you might think I hate JJ McCarthy. I don't. I like him. His attitude's really, really solid. But I said this when he was in college, when people are, especially when the hype started to rise and people are like, he might be the 3rd best quarterback in the draft. I was scratching my head, seeing off of what evidence. He was a system quarterback that did very well And I'm not saying he's not a pro-worthy, player. Certainly he is. I think he's very, very, potentially could be very good. But do I think he'll ever be great? No, and that's where I feel like, okay, how are we going to feed JJ, Hawkinson, Addison, and especially deploy anything remotely close to what Kirk Cousins was unleashing? Just constant throwing, constant yardage. I just don't, this is a guy that didn't need to do that. This is a guy that was game management. He was system quarterback, and maybe he just didn't have an opportunity. And that's the argument a lot of people have, and I get the argument. And I understand the argument, but there's no evidence of that's a good reason to bank. Like, you can't bank on that. You can't say, well, maybe he didn't have a chance. Okay. And maybe DTR is the best quarterback in the league, and the Browns will be okay. We could play the maybe game all day long. But we have no evidence that J.J. McCarthy can support and do remotely close to anything Kirk Cousins and the offense was doing. That's my concern. It's not, can J.J. McCarthy go out there and be a system quarterback? Like, you put him, I don't know, somewhere else where they just need that facilitator. Maybe he works out. J.J. McCarthy in the Chargers situation was perfect. That's why we wanted Herbert to get traded to Minnesota, so Herbert could throw for 5,000 yards and 40-plus touchdowns a year, and sending JJ to the Fantasy Football Hall of Fame, immediately. You already go there, but immediately. JJ would be the number 1 overall pick in 2024. If Herbert was capable of being traded, his dead cap wouldn't allow it. But if Herbert was capable of being traded and he ended up a Viking, he would be a top 5 to 6 quarterback. He'd throw for 5,000 yards. He'd throw for 40 to 45 passing touchdowns. Justin Jefferson would have 15 passing or receiving touchdowns. Give him one rushing and 1 passing. JJ would have 1 passing, 1 rushing, 15 receiving touchdowns, 1,800 receiving yards, 120 receptions. JJ would be the number 1 overall player in fantasy football with Herbert. So there's my flowers to Herbert. There's my flowers also to JJ. So just so you know where I stand on those two. It's not about hating Justin Herbert, but we didn't need Herbert in LAC. We needed JJ McCarthy there because that's what Harbaugh wanted anyway. And he wants just a guy. He doesn't want Herbert. He wants just a guy. That's all he wants. And frankly, that's what he should get, because he's wasting the opportunity that Herbert's allowing, could allow for. He's just wasting it. Herbert is like, having Herbert in that Chargers offense is, as I say, having a race car that can go 225 miles per hour in a race where everyone else is going 225 miles per hour. And you put a governor, a restrictor on the gas pedal that only, like at the golf cart course. I don't know if anybody knew that. You go to a go-kart course, and the gas pedal, there's a screw typically on a go-kart, and the screw is essentially the gas pedal. So if here's the screw goes all the way down. The go-kart can go 100% speed, right? Well, what they end up doing is they take the pedal and they screw the pedal to the middle or a little bit higher. That's why some of the go-karts go faster than others, because it's not exactly lined up right, or the screw moves a little bit. But they screw the pedal to the screw halfway down to the bolt. And if you know what you're doing, you put your foot on the bolt, not the pedal, and you push the bolt down, and you can get the car to go full speed. We get kicked out of go-kart places everywhere. This is what it feels like. It feels like Harbaugh's going into his gas pedal, putting a governor limiter on it and saying, go 100 miles per hour. You can only go 100 miles per hour. Now go enter a race against 200 mile per hour cars. That's what Herbert's going to deliver in 2024. His Vegas line, this guy capable of throwing 5,000 yards, his Vegas yardage line, I believe, was like 3,500 yards the last time I checked. Everyone clearly knows they're not going to use him. They're going to use this man 40% capacity. Good God, man, we could have had some greatness in Minnesota. It sucks. I'm sorry, Sick Nasty's probably absolutely livid right now in the chat. I'm sorry, bro. I hope I'm wrong for your case. And Rhino with the $2 hauler just got Keon 20 picks past ADP, and underdog is too easy. That's a fantastic move, Smitty approved.
You've just been
I was thinking of it, and I was watching that they re-signed him, and I was like, oh, this has to be good for J.J. McCarthy, because everyone said he's not going to do, that good. And I'm like, they came out and said, another quarterback who's our quarterback coach came out and physically said, that's the best quarterback in the draft.
Okay, well, I agree that people said that, but I disagree with it being factual. But I will say this. What changed, Bruce? I know you want to hear good things about the Vikings or whatever, that this signing was good for J.J. McCarthy. What's changed? They extended him. Nothing's actually changed. You know what I mean? Like, nothing has been added. Nothing improves, really. It's just, it's long-term, sure. But you're not even starting JJM. You're starting Sam Darnold. So if the Vikings are your team and you're listening to this, anybody, I get you're hopeful, and I get some people said that JJM was a good quarterback, and I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. That's probably true information. He is a good quarterback, but I just don't think he's a volume guy. He needs to be in a specific offense, and the Vikings, I think, took him because they potentially maybe even wanted another quarterback or two. They had to go this route. I don't think it was the best quarterback to take for this offense for JJ, Justin Jefferson, and we'll see. It'll play out. I could be totally wrong on JJ McCarthy. I could be totally wrong, but there's just no evidence of to support that he can go out there and facilitate, and he can't even win the job. Like Caleb's going to start week 1, JD's going to start week 1. There might be some wishy-washy answers about it now because they want him to take the job, right? You got to motivate him, but I think, there's a problem. In Drake May's case, it's a little bit more understandable, I guess, but you could still make the same argument that maybe he should be starting. If you take a quarterback that high in today's NFL, where the college game translates over differently than it ever has, Joe Burrow, Herbert, Stroud, AR5, you take a guy high enough, you got to start him. Unless you've got an amazing situation, and it's a very weird situation. But I'll tell you right now, I don't think, and Brissett's interesting enough that you could make this argument, and they want to potentially even lose to get better for the next year. It all, that can make sense to me, I guess, but we'll see, bro. All right, hang tight real quickly.
No, I was thinking of his run block.
Yeah.
It's actually really good, so I didn't know if that moved up Aaron Jones and Chandler.
Yeah, but moved up. But why would it move up? I mean, I don't understand, because he's getting a contract extension.
Yeah, but he was talking about holding out if he didn't get it.
Okay, well, I didn't think I guess you were envisioning a holdout on top of all this. Man, we didn't even address that. If there was a holdout, that'd have been even worse, Brucey. All right, hold on.
I was like, oh, man.
Let me go over to Justin Fort Worth, and then I'll go over to Justin Rush. Justin Fort Worth, what's up, my guy? And Bruce, call back. You don't have to hang up. Call back if you got another one. Go ahead, Justin from Fort Worth. What's going on?
Hey, Smitty. I did my first ever Dynasty Startup League. We just finished with our draft. I wanted to see if you could take a peek at my starters. Not my whole team, obviously.
All right, read it off as fast as you can.
Filler. Yeah, I got Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, MHJ, Dalton Kincaid, AR5, Jordan Addison, Kyler Murray.
Is this a super flex or no?
Warren. No.
Okay.
It's a 6 point per passing touchdown, though.
All right.
And then I got Musgrave as a backup tight end there.
Nice. Yeah, good job. 12 man or 10?
12.
12. Okay, so AR5, Hall, Gibbs, MHJ. So you went RB, and then you got MHJ in round 3?
I got MHJ in round 3. I don't know what these guys are doing.
And then you took AR5 in round 4, right? And then Kincaid in 5?
Correct.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's good. Good job. Borderline where people are like, get out of here with your rich man problems. No offense, but anytime you're getting MHJ in round 3, you're playing with a few grandmas. There's nothing wrong with grandma leagues at all. Let me make that abundantly clear. I've got a grandma league still. You know, half of them are sharks and half of them are, it's a long time buddy league, and they don't pay attention anymore. They don't take me seriously, because they knew me before I was, a content creator on it. So like no one ever admits that that I'm even exist outside of the buddy zone. But that league, I admit, there's probably a chance I could get some steal like that too. But that's a pretty good team. I venture to say that there's a couple other teams that are pretty good too. But this is really good. That's why I love going to RB. I love going to RB because in a league like this, you can still get an elite wide receiver, and dare I say, you could get, potentially still like a Dell. Like, where did Dell go in this draft?
Dell went in the 4th round.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you could add Adele somehow. Kincaid's pretty good, though. I like this move. Who's your other wide receiver? Addison and who?
I got Dotson and Godwin. They kind of all dried up fast at the wide receiver spot.
Dotson, Godwin, yeah. Good team, though, bro. And a lot of people like Godwin this year. I'm not as big on other people.
I had Warren as my other RB behind.
Yeah,
Paul
not bad.
Gibbs.
All right, bro. Nice job. Smitty approves.
Appreciate you, Smitty.
B plus, A minus at least, and then things happen, things evolve, and that's an A plus team. You just need a couple things. Your receiver position is the only thing holding you back from an A plus. Like had you escaped with a little bit better wide receiver too, then it would have been glorious. But you can make some trades. Yep. All right, bro. Later. Justin Rush, you were live.
Hey, I was curious, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with your take on Godwin, but why don't you like Godwin? Because in a way, Godwin's kind of like the beneficiary of the ideology of we should kind of stay away from Mike Evans because of that. Because I've been staying away from Mike Evans, but an interesting thing about Godwin is a lot of people with Mike Evans are like, oh, he has 1,000 yards every single season. Most of these seasons, Chris Godwin's had 1,000 yards, and he's not as good as Mike Evans. But what's kind of your is it just Baker Mayfield?
Well, it's Baker Mayfield. It's the fact that in back-to-back seasons he has a combined 5 touchdowns. It's do I like him? Yeah, I mean I like Godwin, but he's not necessarily a spring chicken either. I'm not saying he's so old he can't have 1 or 2 more years, I suppose, but he is 28 years old, coming off of a 2 touchdown season on a year where I think Baker played the best he's going to play. I do think the odds of Baker regressing are strong. I think, Baker Mayfield feels like a Band-Aid. He feels like a temporary fix wherever he's gone, even when he played in LA. And he did well for that short shot, and people are like, maybe this is the future. It's like wherever he's at, it's a short spurt. And I think that while it feels like this could be a little bit better situation and it could last a little while, I'm just not banking on it. I don't know. I was definitely a doubter walking into last year, and I was wrong, and I admit that. But I don't know. I just don't think Tampa Bay is going to repeat what they did. This is last year's bracket, just so everyone knows. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to I think there are too many good teams in the NFC this year for Tampa Bay to grab a spot. And I don't know. If he had come away with in that nice bounce back year for Baker, more touchdowns, I get they're going to move him around this year. They're going to try and make room for him. I like McMillan a lot. I think McMillan could start eating into not necessarily his workload, but the overall workload. I think there's just a lot of better wide receivers around where Godwin's going. Sometimes it's not about me hating a player. It's just about that there's just better options, And if people are higher on Godwin, they keep raising their expectation. on him, then I'm going to like him less because I can get a couple other players that I just like a whole lot better where Godwin's going. So it's not always that I hate the player. I don't understand the hype, and I'm certainly going to allow the hype to happen without me being a part of it, and I'm going to take advantage where I can. And if I'm wrong on Godwin, it'll be one of those cases where even when I'm wrong, I don't feel wrong because I'm going to take somebody I believe in that's around his value anyway, and I'm going to, I believe, land that. So in my worst case scenario, in my mind, I'm wrong on Godwin, and both of us, the guy that takes Godwin and then me, we both end up having, good picks at that point in the draft. And we're like, you did good. Maybe he was a good pick. But I'm just not seeing it, especially with the increase in value. Like, he's climbing pretty rapidly, and I'm not on board.
I mean, that's a respectable. Like, there's a lot of things going on with his specific situation. So, what do you think of Jordan Addison's haircut? Have we heard anything about? Is the thing where he's getting suspended by the team, is that like real news? Like, is that like something that like Adam Schefter reported? Like, what's kind of going on with Jordan Addison?
There's no news about a suspension that's any sort of like as far as I know, Addison, there's nothing yet. I mean, we're at a total waiting game. Number one, I don't know that this even warrants a suspension. The guy has been now in trouble twice behind the wheel, but I don't know. It's possible if he got a suspension at all, I'd imagine it'd be like one game or something very, very small. But hard to say. According to a report released by I don't see anything. I mean, I think Schefter or somebody's just speculating. I'd say one, maybe 2 games at the most if something does happen. But these things end up usually being a lot less severe than we think. It's just the way it happens in the NFL. So if we're feeling like he may or may not get his suspension, the odds are strong that he won't. but even if he does, it's going to be 1 or 2 games. But there's definitely concern here, decision making, the fact that he's just now twice. I mean, the other one wasn't a DUI, but he was going 140 miles an hour on like a highway, which is crazy, which is like you could kill somebody. The only difference between him and Ruggs was that he didn't crash and kill somebody. People can say, oh, well, he was just speeding. Well, so is Ruggs. And look at Ruggs now. And granted, Ruggs was drinking, but he was drinking here. So I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what these players are thinking. I mean, you got the world on a silver platter. You're in the NFL. People would kill to be in this situation. And this guy's out there doing this kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, could the team suspend him? I would say teams are not really that, I think, open to the idea of taking matters into their own hands preemptively. They usually, especially like the Saints, they usually just sit back and await a verdict from the NFL. And if a verdict doesn't come in, they par for the course. It's business as usual. So who knows? Not to mention, I think there's like Dalvin Cook had some run-ins when he was in Minnesota, and Minnesota didn't preemptively do anything ahead of the NFL. So I wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, where are you willing to take him? Because I've seen Jordan Addison slide, and I feel like it's almost even kind of like an overcorrection of like fantasy football fans saying, hey, that guy was kind of too high at 68, so now we're going to like really fade him. Like, where are you? Because I've been seeing him go to like 95. I just picked him up at 85 just because I have like none of them. Where is acceptable for you to? Because like I know how you're kind of on the same page with me. I'm not a J.J. McCarthy guy. I think he's like a more athletic version.
I think I would say around 85 and beyond. I'm looking at Keon Coleman at 79. Give me Keon Coleman all day long. I see JSN. Give me JSN all day long. Those offenses are going to throw the damn ball. You got Ryan Grubb in Seattle. 3 wide receiver sets, aerial attack. Give me JSN all day long. Brian Thomas Jr. Give me Brian Thomas Jr. Christian Watson. I don't like Lab McConkey like everybody else. I would say Lab McConkey, who's up at 71 overall. I'd say Addison and him are very comparable, and I might even take Addison. Hopkins, I'm hit and miss on Hopkins. I could see Addison being better than him. So there are players that are up at like 60 and 70 that Addison might have more value. But I think at the end of the day, you see Brian Thomas Jr., JSN, Keon Coleman, those guys I want more. And so that pushes him down into the 80s. If he's at 85, I would certainly explore that. But there could be a game or two suspension. There isn't enough volume to go around. And as much as I want to take what he did last year and say, oh, he can do it, it's hard to bank on him getting last year's production in this situation. So, all right. Hey, hold on a second, Justin. I'm going to go over to Nate here. So just mute yourself if you could. And then over to John. Actually, let me put this caller on hold here. This is a 678. What's your name? 678 caller, and where are you calling from?
My name is Jay Smart, and I'm calling from Ithaca, New York.
Okay, Jay, hang tight. Put yourself on mute if you could, Jay. And then I'll come back to you.
On the phone or on the TV? I got you.
Well, do both. Definitely turn off the TV so I don't have reverb.
Yep.
But all right, hang tight.
I got you, brother.
All right, let me go over to Nate. Nate Dogg from Chicago. What's up, Nate Dogg? What do you got for me?
What's good? So I have a dynasty question. Super flex tight end premium. You think I'm giving up too much on this trade? Basically, I get Trey McBride, and I give up a 2026 first with Goddard and Hawkinson.
Dallas Goddard, Hawkinson in a 20 what first rounder?
2026.
Give me McBride.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it isn't a solid, side on that other side, because Hawkinson, hard to write him off. He tore his ACL and he's gonna have a rough year, but hard to write him off. At the same time, I like Dallas Goddard quite a bit. He's a crafty tight end this year, and then a 26 first rounder. What if that's the 1.1? We could be playing with fire. Now, I assume you would tell me it's a great chance to be the 1.1 if it was. I imagine it's like a middle round pick or something like that, right?
Yeah, I would assume it'll be
so. Yeah, give me McBride, bro. Give me McBride, who could be the number 1, number 2, or number 3, and I think that's where I draw the line. I don't think he's going to be 4 or 5 or whatever. I think he's 1, 2, or 3, and for the long term. So it's a hefty price to pay, but 2026 is a ways away, bro. And the fact that you're getting McBride to ball out right away for you, you're going to reap the rewards for a while before that 26 ever even comes around. I'm taking McBride, but that's me. I'm a very risky trader with draft picks. I will usually have no draft picks for 2 years and have, trade them for studs like this. Like I trade. Go ahead.
I got 2 firsts this year. I got the 6th and 11th.
Okay.
At the 6th, do you think I go? Because I think it'll go the top 5 will be Caleb, no order, Caleb, Rome, JD5.
It's 1 QB?
Neighbors, 2 QB, super flex.
Okay, so JD5's gone. Caleb's gone.
Caleb,
Neighbors, MHJ's gone. And you said tight end premium?
Yeah.
Then this comes back to damn, now you got Brock Bowers sitting there in your crosshairs. I don't know how you pass on Bowers in a tight end premium, bro. And then it's
then I have if I trade for McBride.
Yeah, but I'm still making that McBride trade, and then I think I don't know. Benson's really good, bro. I love Benson. Benson's a monster. I'm not saying don't trade. Bowers if you draft him, and Bowers is certainly. Coble gifting 5 gifted memberships. Coble to the moon. Coble, appreciate you, my guy. I mean, it's between Bowers and Benson if that board is the way you're describing it. I'm not going unless you are dire need a QB. I don't think I'm entertaining May or any of those guys over Benson, over Bowers, over maybe even Keon Coleman. And you said Adunze was going to be gone.
Yeah.
Coble,
my quarterbacks are Goff and Baker.
Oh, God, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Goff and
Go
Baker,
off
what in the
McCarthy.
hell you been doing, bro? Goff and Baker, you might have to go quarterback. You might have to plug your nose and just take your medicine, bro. Can you trade up? Can you trade up to get JD5? That would be my goal, bro. Do this trade, okay? Do this trade, get McBride, and then try and work a trade. You already gave up your 25 first rounder, right? I can tell.
No, I think I have it.
You? Okay, trade that in the pick to get JD5. That's what I'm going to say, bro.
Okay.
All right, hey, I got to go, bro. I'll see you later.
All right, yep. Thank you.
All right, let me go over to Nate Dogg. Appreciate you. John, you're live, and then over to Jay, and then over to Denny. John, you're live. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, I know I don't have a lot of time to talk about Chase being paid less, but, earlier in the show you talked about how they're pretty much all the same. But they're not really the same. If you look at JJ's numbers, past 4 years, 1,400 yards, 16-16, 1809, 1074. Chase, on the other hand, 1455, 1046, 1216. Now, like it or not, one plays more elusively and the other has a violent style of play.
He's reading.
And one also has more yards
Smitty.
than the other. From an injury standpoint and the way they play, sure, there's a clear difference, and one obviously deserves to be paid more. That's where I'm coming from. I don't think Chase deserves to be paid more.
Okay,
but from your point,
hold on. Let's back up 1 second. In the last live stream, I saw your comments. I think it was in the premiere. You said that Jamar Chase wasn't worth even bringing back. You're like, why waste your time on this guy? Just replenish Jamar Chase by drafting another rookie wide receiver. So let's actually give Chase the disrespect that you dished out in the live premiere comments. You don't even think Jamar Chase is worth paying or bringing him back. So, I have more of a beef with that than I have with you trying to tell me that JJ's better than Chase or Lamb's better. Sure, that's fine, bro. I'm not going to argue. Even if you like St. Brown more than Chase, you've got a case to be made. But I've got a bigger beef with where you're coming from on Jamar Chase overall. Because it sounds like you don't think he's good at all, John.
Huh? I didn't say he's not good. I just said he's not worth paying.
Why?
He's not worth paying that amount. Well, I just said why. One's clearly better, and if they do pay him, it'll be +3 or -3. I mean, JJ just got paid. The only way they get paid more is if they do some new collective bargaining or the salary cap goes up.
Number one, the number 8 or 7 or whatever moves up to 1. And do you think Jared Goff deserves to be placed where he is in terms of quarterback money? The answer is no. Do you think Trevor Lawrence deserves to be slotted where he is in quarterback money? No. The way the contract climbing works is these players at 10, 11, 12 will climb up to 1, and the guy at 5 will climb back above him. It's like a ladder. So, number one, Jamar Chase is not getting paid below JJ next offseason. John, the contracts are going to skyrocket. Last year's money is not this year's money. So this year's money won't be last year's money. And when I said, and I saw your comment, when I said if Jamar Chase doesn't get inked by the Bengals brass this offseason as we close it out this season, whatever, they're going to pay through the nose next year. And you're saying next year he gets less than JJ got this offseason. And that's just not how it works, John, whether you dislike him or not. You clearly don't like Chase. But even if Chase is on a lesser level, he's getting paid more than JJ next offseason because of the market. Now, if he goes out and gets hurt or sucks it up, is there a world where this could happen? Potentially. But Jamar Chase has been a monster in this league, bro. He's missed some games, so you're comparing stats, and he's sat out games. He's missed more time, and you could use that as a negative, obviously, but you can't sit here and run stats off and say, well, JJ did this stat-wise, Jamar Chase did this, because there's missed games involved. When you look at per game, when you look at targets, when you look at red zone share, you look at how many red zone targets and targets this guy got per start, he actually ranks among the top of the league. So it depends on what data you're looking at, John, but Jamar Chase is easily one of the top 3 wide receivers in the league in some of that data, target data, red zone data, end zone data. So it just depends on what you want to pull out of your hat to read off. because, you know, you can't just read off yardage when a guy misses time.
I get that. And in the end, I mean, if he deserves to get paid, it'll probably be in incentives. I don't think it'll be in more guaranteed money. And if it is in more, it's not going to be 10, it's not going to be 15, and it certainly is not going to be 20. It'll probably be plus or 3, plus or 4. Well, that's just unrealistic. The money has to come from somewhere. The money has to come from somewhere.
What's unrealistic when every contract, John, gets bigger?
Johnny.
That's just the market.
You're not listening, Johnny. Johnny, you're not listening. I'll take it from there. Recent studies, Johnny. Johnny, I don't even know where you're coming from. You think that this guy's gonna just have a great time? You know what? He sucks.
Okay, Denny, let me take it back from here.
You know what? Okay.
Look, real quickly, John, I'm not saying you can't have a stance that Jamar Chase is not JJ, Jamar Chase is not Hill, like you can have that opinion, but you took it one step further when in that live stream you kept writing Jamar Chase shouldn't even be brought back, let him go, he's not worth re-signing.
That was one time.
You took it to a whole nother level. Like, so I'm stuck on that. I could care less if you like him 5th or 6th in the league, but he is 100%. He's 100% worth signing. And let me just tell you this: the Bengals have Super Bowl aspirations which could potentially be achieved. John, if they don't have Jamar Chase, they're a cellar dweller team. I don't understand the argument that Jamar Chase isn't worth bringing back. I don't even understand. Can't even compute it.
How would they even replace him?
I can't even compute it. It.
You're out of line, Johnny.
John, let's hear John's response, though. Go ahead, John.
It's not so much that he's not worth it. It's the way he plays. You got to look
amazing.
Long term. It's his style. He does a lot in the first 5 or 10 yards. He does a lot. He's not a JJ. He's not an Amon-Ra. He's not a Jordan Addison. I think Jordan Addison plays almost exactly like JJ. If you look at where they play, the numbers and whatnot. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Jamar Chase. And all I'm saying is that if they want to build a franchise, they have other people they have to play, and they can't pay, and they can't just keep on throwing out money to players.
They can, though. They do. That's how it works, John. That's how it works. You pay your best players. He's clearly the second best player on the team. And he's the best receiver. Let me just say this. He's the best receiver that the Bengals will ever have. John.
Johnny, you ever run a hot route?
He probably is.
Johnny, you want to run a hot route? Johnny, if I zip one to you, are you going to, in coverage, I zip one to you, what are the odds you catch one? Johnny, hot routes.
All right. Hold on.
Johnny.
Wait 1 second, Denny. I don't want to have to hang up on you. Denny, I don't want to have to hang up on you. You gotta contain yourself. Okay, let me go back to Travis, then Jay from New York, and then over to Ron. Hang up. I think Ron hung up. Let's go over to Travis, then over to Jay from New York. Go ahead, Travis. I think Travis was wanting to say something.
No, I'm a good guy.
I was gonna ask you, maybe I'm mixed up with someone. Is John? Don't you love Neighbors? Aren't you, or is it maybe it's someone else? But I thought you were always talking Neighbors up in the chat, how good he's going to be. And him and Chase, they profile pretty similar.
This dude loves animals. Yeah, what's up with your animals, bro?
Hold on, Denny, hold on. This mute real quick. Denny, mute.
Okay. Mute.
Mute, Denny. Mute. I don't even know what you're saying.
All
right.
Stop yelling at me.
Go ahead and respond, John. Then I'm going to go over to Jay from New York. Neighbors
is a great guy. Sure, he profiles with them, but that's a totally different situation. We're talking about Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase, whether you like it or not, the numbers aren't as good as JJ. Is he deserving of the money? Absolutely. Do I think they should pay him? Absolutely not. Hopefully they don't pay him. If they do, I'll think it's probably going to be +5 more and guaranteed. Not the 10, not the 15. That's player history. That's all I got.
All right, John he bounced. He deuced out. He tried to mic drop. Let's go over to Jay from New York. Look, John, you came in. Look, I just want John to know something. John, you're welcome here. It's a safe space. I love you, pal. I don't want to see you run off or anything like that. But you came in with a hot take, and it got a little spicy in here, and it got a little heated. But you came in on purpose. You came in guns blazing on a ridiculous take, and no offense, but you got it handed to you. Because you started talking about a guy that people are drafting top 5 overall, and you started talking him down like he's not worth the money and he can't be good, and you're gonna rub some people the wrong way on that. So I just want you to know, if you're exiting because you tried to mic drop, there's no mic to drop though, just so you know, and I just want you to understand that we still appreciate you, but you spilled the milk at Thanksgiving dinner again, because that was ridiculous. Jay from New York, and then I got to wrap this up. Go ahead, Jay.
Wow. Okay.
I gotta run, Smitty. I'll talk to you later.
All right, later, because I gotta come back tonight. So if I wanna go get dinner or something, I gotta leave. Go ahead, Jay.
Understood, brother. So I want to say this first and foremost. I just got turned on to you randomly through YouTube, and you're amazing.
Out of YouTube.
You're amazing. I'm all about it, right? And then there's guys. Preface this. I've been playing fantasy for like 11, 12 years, whatever. And so for the last 2 years, I've been really into best ball.
Yeah.
And so this year, I bet the farm essentially. So like every week, because my work schedule is so crazy, like I work every day, awful. But anyway, at night, my solace is I place these bets on DraftKings.
We're underdog.
So
we're underdog here, just so you know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's right.
I'm sorry. I have some underdog entries.
Yeah, we're underdog people here. Go ahead. You meant to say underdog, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I apologize. So anyway, with all of that interest, I have over like 135 entries. I've got $2,000 in, and I'm just shooting the farm. I'll cut that. So my question to you is, when you are drafting at the top of the line, like first overall or 12th or 11th overall, like when you get to your second pick, do you kind of like push your guys down the line if some of your guys are already taken? Like I know you go best player available, but I've been having issues where like I get my guy or one or two of my guys, and then I'm like, oh, I like this other player, but I'm sure he's not going to make it till he gets back around to me.
What player? Give me an example, because there's a time to reach and a time.
Understood. Okay, so most recently I did a draft, and I picked 11, and Garrett Wilson was still available, so I took him at 11. In previous drafts, like the last previous draft,
that's where he goes.
He went earlier, like he went like 8th, 9th.
Yeah, not a good example though, because it's where he goes. He goes at 11 all the time.
You're right.
So give me another example.
I took him at. Okay, so say you had to choose between J-Jeff and Nakua.
Is this Young on the phone? Go ahead. Okay, bro, what are we talking about here? Spit it out. I appreciate you. I'm glad you found me. I'm very glad you found me. But I need to hear give me an example of reaching on a player, and I'll tell you if it's okay. But Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I'll give you a real example. It's not based on that actual position. This is what really happened to me last night. I was picking at 6, and it was my first pick, and I was able to get Lamb, Hill, or Robinson,
okay.
And I drafted Lamb.
Okay.
I drafted Lamb there.
Okay.
But in my head, I was like, I don't think Gibbs or some of the other running backs are going to come back to me in the next round. So like I kind of felt a little panic. I'm new to this more or less.
Okay, so let me summarize this for you, bro. Just draft a bunch of different teams with those first rounders. Let me put it as bluntly as I can.
Okay.
Draft as many teams as you can afford. Obviously, don't spend money you don't have. I'm not saying that, but draft as many teams as you can with different variants of those first-round guys because they're all gold. I did a first-round, worst picks in every round, and in round 1, we couldn't come up with any busts. There's just no bust players in round 1. So I want Gibbs teams. I want Hill teams. I want Chase teams. I want St. Brown teams. I want Breece Hall teams. It gives you a certain protection because every year, about 20 to 35% of the first top 30 bust. Like, it's crazy. We'll do a video in week 7 where we're reflecting on the top 30, and like 30% of them will be bust. They'll either be injured or something. So you want to vary everything as much as you can, and that's the bottom line. There's nothing here that really coach you on other than I'm drafting Gibbs in round 1 all the time, where Chase is going, St. Brown's
I
going.
love him.
But I'm also diversifying my portfolio as best that I can too, so that I have different variants and different teams that can take it a distance. Now, I'm not saying I don't oversaturate Bijan a little more than normal. I'm not saying I don't oversaturate my Kyren Williams teams, my Enchant teams.
Guys that you like,
But you certainly got to get a diverse portfolio. But this is just a regular struggle question. Like this is like the Young's question earlier. Who do you take, Lamb or Chase or Bijan? It's like, bro, there's no answer to these questions. Like, take
you're right.
as many of these players as you can where you can. And if you're in one league, let's say, I'm drafting in one league like the olden days. Who are we taking? Probably are taking Tyreek Hill or Lamb if we're sitting there and CMC's gone or whatever, just because it does give you the best chance of getting that return value. But I'm rolling the dice that Bijan's the number 1 overall player in a handful of leagues. I'm rolling the dice that Gibbs.
I love it. I love Bijan.
All right, I got to go, Jay. Call him tonight, bro. Call him tonight. Hurry up, bro. Hurry up.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Oh, I got one more? Okay. I was just going to say that, like, everybody that I truly love, like the Lambs, the Hills, whatever, they're all there. But the drafts have been so weird in best ball for like the 3rd round. It's just like people are reaching for so many YRs. So I've been going like RB heavy mostly because like I don't trust it. But I'll call you. I'll call back later or whatever.
Okay, yeah, call back, John. I don't know what you just asked me right now, but I appreciate you. Anyway, Jay, I'm glad you found the channel. Let's.
Fair enough, brother. I'll get out of here.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Jay. Don't apologize for being Jay. Okay. We're gonna come up with your own a new nickname. Like, what are we calling this guy? Ramblin' Jay? Are you okay with a little bit of a little bit of us goofing on you? Is that okay?
I'm all into it, man. You could, I'm all fine with it. It's all
Rambling
good.
Jay. I'm gonna rename you Rambling Jay because Jay, I can't follow what's going on here. I got ADD and I'm absolutely unsure where we're going with this half the time. Rambling
Dude,
Jay.
I had questions about your playing career. Like I was just like, oh, he's been in this thing for so long. Like, what's his I don't
Jay, gotta
know
go.
you, but I got you.
All right, I'll call him tonight later.
Cheers, brother. Cheers. Thank you.
God. Rambling Jay. I like Rambling Jay. Rambling Jay, call in anytime. Justin Rush, Rambling Jay took about 30 seconds of your minute, so you got I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Go.
I got one thing to say, Smitty. You're out of line, Johnny. You're out of line. Have a great night, buddy.
All right, later, Justin. Later. All right, Denny, final thoughts. Hello, Denny. Denny fell asleep. I was wondering why he was so quiet. All right, we'll keep him there in case he comes back. Ron Navy with a $20 hauler. Justin says, Johnny, you're out of line. That's what he was screaming when he hung up. And Coble says, been a minute fantasy football show crew. Hope you guys have a solid and enjoyable summer. Preseason night around the corner. We'll have to fire up the best ball. Appreciate you, Johnny Coble. We haven't seen you in a while, Coble. And thank you for dropping the 5 gifted memberships. And Ron Navy dropping the $20 hauler on screen. Ron Navy, let's go. $20 hauler. You know, since Denny's on the line, I know this is not a $20 haul or a $50 hauler, but Ron also did drop gifted memberships, another super chat, whatever, that I didn't acknowledge the other night. So technically speaking, this is a $50 hauler for Ron. And we've got the beautiful angel of a voice sleeping on the phone line right now, Denny. Let's see if we can wake him up with his own wonderful songbird singing.
holla, holla. At the bottom of Smitty, give me $50. Oh, yeah.
Denny? Denny, wake up, Denny. Denny, wake up. His own voice can't wake him up. Ron, appreciate you. Says not a lot of super chats tonight. Don't forget, Smitty's got to eat. Says Ron Navy dropping a 20 wad. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate you. Any final thoughts, Ron?
Yeah, I got. I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird draft. It was a puppy slow draft, and I ended up with Breece Hall, Gibbs, and Kyren.
Yeah, I love that. I love doing that. Gibbs,
That's like,
Hall, Kyren. My favorite team is like an Achane, Kyren, and then Gibbs or Bijan. Like I love those teams too. Like those are all
hard to get all three.
Yeah.
In the right position, in the right time to get them.
What I love is how angry this makes the best ball community in general. Like I get so many comments every day and DMs like, how do you have a YouTube channel? You call yourself and then boom, I boo people like that. You can think you're gonna come in here and piss me off and I'm just gonna ignore you. but these people come in every day and they're like, you can't draft running back. What kind of person are you? How'd you get a job doing this?
That's like you can't draft you can't draft Hurts and Allen in the same draft.
Yeah. People are so set in their ways off of last year's data. How'd you think about John? What did you think about John's Chase argument? I don't even know where he was going with that. Didn't make any sense.
It sounds like he's had Chase in the past, and Chase got injured, so now he's one of those ones that lost all faith in Chase. So Chase screwed him over in fantasy league, so now he's anti-Chase.
Yeah, it sounds like Chase went to go get ice, didn't come back, and now he's bitter. He's bitter about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Coble.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah, it does,
it's like they don't perform, they don't meet their expectations,
but,
and then we go cold on them.
Yeah, that's fine. Going cold on him is one thing, but John's arguing they should let him go. John, do you realize if the Bengals didn't retain Chase, they would be the laughing stock of the league? Like, you're literally the only person on planet Earth that thinks it's a good idea to just move on from Jamar Chase. Like, come on, bro. And then on top, and you said that, okay? Let's be fair. He tried to come and argue in this other point. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. In the comments of my premiere, the last YouTube premiere, he's in there going, they shouldn't even bring him back. He's not even worth re-signing. They should move on. And he even said, just draft another rookie. Like, you're going to replace Jamar Chase with just some random rookie.
It's funny, Smitty, because a lot of times you're like, I can't remember this and that, but certain comments, you remembered, you keep them like right there.
Well, I can
like
only
waiting
I think of it like like a vase full of marbles. Like, there's only so much the human brain can hold, and I have a good memory. I have a very good memory, but people are like, how do you not remember anything? It's because I have to shove so much out. Like, something that doesn't feel, and I don't mean this the wrong way, if I don't remember something, it's not that you're not important. It's just I can only hold so. It's like having roster spots, right? You only have 18 roster spots and you have like 25 really good players. It's not that you hate the players you're letting go. It's not that this piece of information or this person's name or what they do for a living isn't important to me, but I can only hang on to so much. But some of the things John does, he takes up a bunch of marbles. I have like 4 or 5 marbles in my I shouldn't. I mean, why am I wasting memory on that? I don't know.
John lives in your head.
John, your marbles are in my head. Get them out, John. Some of them I just can't. I have nightmares over some of the things he says. Jamar Chase. I'm gonna have nightmares about the Bengals just releasing Jamar Chase and the whole world going, "What is going on?" Jamar Chase is no longer good, according to reports. All right, I gotta go. Appreciate you, Ron. Thank you for the $20 hauler. Huh?
What are you gonna do for supper?
I don't know. At this point, I think everyone's asleep. I think I'm in trouble.
Oh, so you're gonna go down and get you one of those?
I don't know. I don't know. It's 7:30 p.m. here, so I'm in trouble. So I gotta go. I'll be back for drafting. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate you. Let's go see if the lights are still on in the house.
All right.
All right.
Catch you later. Later, Cat.
Hey, later, Denny. Denny.
Later.
Denny, are you zipping it in your dream? Denny's in his dream right now, zipping footballs to me right now. I know it.
Yeah.
Denny. All right. See,
martial arts in the garage.
maybe I'll leave him on the phone line and I'll hang up on everybody else and I'll sound off the boss horn. All right, later, Ron.
Later.
I should sound off the boss horn. I don't want to do it on the show, but I should do it offline and record it. See if I wake him up. You're out of line, Smitty, says Justin. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Jay Smart. Jay Smart, $10 hauler. Thanks for your time. Thank you, Jay. Hey, that's the guy that just called. Jay, Rambling Jay. Rambling Jay became famous overnight. Rambling Jay to the moon. Hey, Jay, I just want you to know, pal, don't take... I rush a lot of people off the phone. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate you. Sometimes my patience is thin. Okay, it doesn't mean I don't like you. Jay to the moon. Rambling Jay to the moon. Let's give Rambling Jay.
Mashed potatoes.
Just found the channel. Appreciate you, Jay, and you get a moonshot.
To the moon.
All $10 haulers get a moonshot. I'll see you all later. Appreciate you. Thank you to my super chatters, Justin Rush, Jay Smart, Coble, Ron with the $20 hauler, Justin Rush, Coble, Rhino, Rock Out, Matthew, Cheryl, G-Men, Kyle, Isaac, Dez, and then gifted membership. Who gifted memberships? Gifted memberships. Who gifted memberships? Coble dropping 5 gifted memberships, and who dropped a celebratory message? Being a member, 12-month young, dropping a membership, says, can you please show the Moonman, Marsman, Saturn Man list, which I did do. So I've accomplished everything I needed to accomplish. Appreciate you all. See you later. Matt Biaggia, it's too late for you, bro. The credits are up. I got to go. Call in tonight. Later. Out of here. Deuces.
Your Bijan card has been revoked.